My shifts ended before Santa's, so I didn't have to deal with him during close. For the first couple weeks, every day was more or less the same. Every night, I'd get home depressed, wondering how such a jerk could be Santa Claus. And every morning, I'd return to be slave to his beck and call. Over time, I felt a certain urge of defiance building up inside me every time I heard him always around. Always do Earl do this, do Earl do that, like we were servants, as if we were dear to his heart in any way. One morning, I went in with a scowl on my face from all the pent-up frustration, and that Santa poser was right on top of me for it.
Hey, you! You're always leaving early and weaseling out of cleaning. That's your mistake. Because somebody did a lousy job last night.
By the time I got back with the vacuum, he had another order for me.
You boy, go get me some fresh meat from the food court.
Okay, sir, just as soon as I finish cleaning.
Do it now! You want to learn what it's like to be one of my reindeer? They're not even open yet, old man. Give me a minute.
I clammed up, but I'd already let slip enough to piss him off. The other elf stared on in fear.
Dear boy, I'm gonna rip your stupid elf ears off and make them my earmuffs. Leave me alone, I'm calling the cops.
He lunged at me with sudden speed, but he was caught and held back by the other elves, thrashing and screaming.
Oh!
He eventually came and exited the mall. After that, the only thing left was explaining to the public why Santa had disappeared. A whole mall full of kids bawling from disappointment was easy compared to dealing with that jerk. We provided the picture set up and carried out work for the rest of the day. Unfortunately, things took a sour turn when I got off. I was walking through the parking lot to get to my bus stop when I saw a Christmas stocking cap fluttering behind a dumpster. I could tell there was someone behind me. I crept up and looked over the edge and saw the moss eating the mangled corpse of a deer. He looked up at me with blood streaming from his mouth and said,
Dear boy, would you like some medicine? What the hell are you doing? What? Can't you see why I call you stupid elves my dear boys and girls now?
I ran away as fast as I could, traveling the extra few blocks down the road to wait anxiously for the next bus. When I finally got home, I stumbled in, shaking, and fell into my bed. For the next few days, I didn't leave the house. I quit that job at the mall and started applying elsewhere. I didn't sleep well. The image of raw venison between Santa's teeth flashed before me in the dark. By the time Christmas rolled around, I'd slip back into my old lazy habits like a coping mechanism.
Hey, son, we're going to the store to get some dinner. You want anything? Pizza? Fried chicken?
Sure, Dad. How about venison?
Stability, precision, that's the essence of driving. Love.
Feed the whole crew with 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for just $6.99 each from Domino's.
I'd only been working at Dunkin' Donuts for a month when I got promoted to night manager. To be honest, when my boss called me into his office, I thought I was about to get wrung out for my 30-day evaluation. Instead, he praised me for being such a hard worker, then offered me a better position. I wasn't quite sure whose work ethic he was talking about, because it certainly wasn't mine. But I didn't bite the hand that fed me. The new position came with a hefty pay raise. My boss told me that I'd get to make the nighttime schedule with my preference of employees. It seemed like a pretty sweet deal, so I took it. I convinced the most chill coworker I knew to do most of the graveyard shifts with me. He was easily convinced by the wage increase I offered him. And as expected, the flow of customers from 10 at night to 6 in the morning was really low, so it was quite an easy way to make money. We didn't mind the eerie atmosphere of the dead hours. Most nights we'd stay awake with endless free coffee and keep everything mostly clean just to remain occupied as the store was empty most of the time. Around 2 a.m. was when we'd get the only rush of customers. A handful of friendly drunk people would stagger in for the bars after they would close for the night. My coworker and I didn't really mind these people, though. We actually got to know most of them. It only took a couple of weeks to get used to the graveyard shift. I became good friends with my coworker, and most of the time we spent slacking off was used to talk about what we'd do with the money we were earning from the new grind. But one night, just a few minutes after starting my shift, I got an oddly frantic call from my boss while I was at the register. Hey Ryan, how are you doing tonight? Right, good, okay. So I'm leaving the country. I'm going on vacation for a little while. Well, really, the franchise. I've gotten a great return on a few investments I've made, so I'm retiring. Yeah, retiring. And because you've been such a hard worker and you took such great charge of the night shift, I put in a strong recommendation for you to be the new regional manager. I want you to take over my position. But wait, really? That's great, thank you. I could hardly get a word in, but I was too elated with the good news to care. Yeah, you've basically got the position. Just keep up the good work, okay? Oh, and by the way, there's a contractor coming in tonight to upgrade the coffee machine. Just let him through quickly, all right? He's got a lot of coffee machines to work on tonight. From what Dylan suggested anyway. Sure thing, boss. Hey, you're the boss now, Ryan. Listen, you probably won't hear from me again. The regional manager is going to train you. Goodbye. There was a dumbfounded grin stuck to my face. My coworker was just arriving to his shift, a good 15 minutes late as usual. Hey, Dylan, guess what? He seemed surprised by the energy in my voice. I'm getting fired? No, man. We're both getting promoted again. You're looking at the new store manager. Well, I'll be. Does this mean I get paid more? If you work more. Darn. I guess I ain't getting paid more. Dylan then went to the break room to clock in. He obviously wasn't as excited as I was. Just as I turned my attention back to the register, my eye was caught by movement on the other side of the glass at the front of the store. A rusty windowless van rolled up and triple parked right in front of the door. From the condition of the van, I expected the man inside to be in similar shape, unshaven and unkempt, with a beard gut and a trucker hat. But I was wrong. The driver busted out of the van and entered the store in a rush. He threw open the door and marched up to the counter, then stopped and stared me down. He was not haggard at all. Actually, he was quite physically fit and surprisingly sharply dressed. Still, jeans and a plaid button-down, but undirtied and freshly ironed. I figured this was just his first job of the night, but the way he stood before me, so motionless, was a little unsettling after he'd been moving so quickly a moment ago. I'm here to work on your coffee machine. His voice was booming and robotic. I suddenly felt bad for having just stood there and wasted his time. Before I found my words, Dylan came back from the break room. He eyed up the contractor. Our coffee machine works fine, bro. He's here to upgrade it. He's fine. Come on back, sir. I waved the contractor through. He found his way to the coffee machine without looking at a single thing. He set down his tools and started dismantling the machine with expert efficiency, like he knew every component by heart. Dylan and I traded a confused look, but we just shrugged it off. The contractor didn't seem to care about our presence whatsoever, so we decided not to care about his. We struck up some quiet small talk at the counter and waited for the contractor to finish. He was done far sooner than I expected. We didn't even notice when he walked up right next to us and almost shouted in our ears. Your coffee machine is ready for use again. Okay, thank you. The contractor looked us over with a blank expression, then walked away without a word. He got into his van and drove off. When he was finally out of sight, Dylan and I breathed a sigh of relief. Jeez, what was up with that guy? I don't know, bro. He didn't seem normal at all, did he? Whatever, man. At least he's gone. He didn't steal anything, did he? Nah, he didn't touch the registers or anything. Didn't go near the safe either. Let's just get back to work then. Dylan got a rag and a spray bottle and started cleaning the counter. Nice work ethic, Dylan. I might just start paying you more after all. The next few hours of the shift were dreadfully uneventful. We barely got any customers whatsoever. We started using the upgraded coffee machine at around 1 in the morning. Sure enough, it tasted a little fresher, but also a little more bitter. We guzzled it down anyway. Just after 2 a.m., the usual crowd of wandering drunkards stumbled in, making their rowdy banter as always. They started to line up at the counter when I got an idea. Hey everyone, I've got good news. Instead of getting your usual friends and family discounts, everyone gets a free round of hot and fresh, new and improved coffee in the house. Dude, what are you doing? That's not our policy, bro. Relax, Dylan. It's alright. I basically own this place now. And so, everyone in the restaurant was gifted free coffee from yours truly. It seemed to put everyone in good spirits. After everyone got the rest of their orders, a few croissant sandwiches and a box of donut holes, I left the register and went to talk with Dylan, who was cleaning the griddle after the food rush. Things are looking pretty positive, aren't they? Maybe for you. You're the one getting promoted and everything. I mean, I was working here way before you, but whatever.
Hey, man.
Don't get so down. You get a premium raise out of this. You've been working hard. You deserve it. Dylan didn't say anything in response. He just kept cleaning the grill. But he wasn't really cleaning it. He was just slowly brushing the same spot over and over again. He wouldn't look at me. Suddenly, I felt sick, almost like I was drunk. My vision started to blur and my knees were shaking. I panicked and stumbled out to the front of the restaurant to try and get help from the customers, but when I got there, I realized I was on my own. Each and every one of them was unconscious and laid out across the floor, slumped over the tables or hanging out of the chairs. Just a moment ago, they'd all been lively and rowdy, but now they looked dead. My vision kept getting darker, and when I tried to take a step towards the door, I realized I couldn't move my legs. I collapsed like a sack of bricks. I couldn't move a muscle, but it was like I could still see through a keyhole of vision. I began to regurgitate all the coffee I'd consumed earlier and forcibly vomit all over the ground. I remember seeing Dylan sprint out of the front door as if he was going to call for help. I remained laying in a puddle of my own vomit for the next 30 minutes or so, till the paramedics finally arrived. After reflecting back at the story, it was later confirmed that Dylan had hired a hitman disguised as a contractor in an attempt to assassinate me with a compromised coffee machine. What makes the story more disturbing is how Dylan is still on the run, and how his motive still remains unknown to this day. I personally think he got upset at how I got the role of being a store manager over him. But what I don't get is how he could be so cold-hearted enough to let all those customers drink from that coffee machine. And how his motive checked the front door as if he was going to call for help. I remember seeing Dylan sprint out of the front door as if he was going to call for help. I remained laying in a puddle of my own vomit for the next 30 minutes or so, until the paramedics finally arrived. After reflecting back at the story, it was later confirmed that Dylan had hired a hitman disguised as a contractor in an attempt to assassinate me with a compromised coffee machine. What makes the story more disturbing is how Dylan is still on the run, and how his motive still remains unknown to this day. I personally think he got upset at how I got the role of being a store manager over him. But what I don't get is how he could be so cold-hearted enough to let all those customers drink from that coffee machine.
For those who want more out of every moment this summer, Mazda has more 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than any other brand as of May 2025. What more could you ask for? Discover how Mazda has more to move you today. Visit
About several years ago, I used to work in an engineering firm where I would get carpal tunnel from typing on the keyboard all day. It was currently a Friday, so I figured I'd treat myself to a beer after my shift
Why,
was done.
oh why do
Figured I'd get
you
hammered for a
sow
change.
the same things over and over again?
Today, I'm going to share 3 progressively more disturbing stories, and at the end of each of them, I will share the photo that is famously associated with that story. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please offer to give the like button acupuncture. But then, after you put in all the needles in their back and you stick the box up to the end of the needles and light those, just also please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's stories.
Hello? You're a robot. I don't have that.
Just after 6 p.m. on December 27th, 2015, a woman named Sarah Robinson was getting ready inside her cabin on the 7th floor of a massive cruise ship. She and her boyfriend were going to dinner that night with Sarah's parents in one of the restaurants on board the ship. And in fact, this entire trip, this whole vacation, was actually a big gift from Sarah's parents to Sarah and her boyfriend. And so far, the trip had been totally amazing. All 4 of them, Sarah, her boyfriend, and Sarah's parents, had got to go swimming and drink great drinks and have great food, and it was just like a total dream. But now they only had one night left tonight, and they wanted to make the most of it. And their plan was to go to the big buffet that the ship offered and just totally indulge on the amazing food and just have some laughs, share stories, and then the next day they'd wake up in the Florida port that they left from, and the trip would be over. But for now, they had this one dinner left. And so, after Sarah and her boyfriend were all ready, they left their cabin and they met Sarah's parents out the hallway. And then Sarah led the way towards the stairwell that would bring them up to the 10th floor where the restaurant was that they were going to. Once they reached the 10th floor, Sarah could see right in front of her the entrance to this restaurant. And so she and her boyfriend and her parents, all behind her, began walking towards the restaurant. And to get there, they would have to walk past this sort of lobby right in front of the restaurant, where there was this elevator bank that would go down to the lobby and all the other floors. And so, Sarah and her family, they walked past these elevators, and as they did, Sarah began to hear what sounded like rain hitting the outside of the ship. But that didn't make any sense, because that whole day, the weather had been beautiful, clear, and Sarah, when she heard the sound, she instinctively kind of looked around the corner out one of the windows, and she looked out into the night, and it was still clear and beautiful. So this could not be rain. And so Sarah, she turned around and she looked at her boyfriend and her parents with this sort of quizzical look, being like, "Do you hear this? What is that sound?" And they clearly had heard it too, and were looking back at her like, "I don't know." But before they could even start to discuss whatever this was, a woman who they didn't know, who was standing near these elevators as well, began to scream. It would turn out, just a few minutes before this woman began to scream, the cruise ship's chief electrician, 66-year-old Jose Sandoval Paso, had begun doing routine maintenance on the elevators that were located a few floors below the 10th floor, but still within that same elevator bank that could bring you up to the 10th floor where the restaurant was. And while Jose was performing this very routine and quick maintenance on the elevator, something strange happened. But to understand why this happened, you need to understand a little bit about Jose and the other electricians on board this cruise ship. So there was oftentimes a lot of very quick and easy maintenance that would need to get done on the these elevators, which would involve going into the elevator shaft to do it. But again, these are very short bursts, in and out, very easy to do. All the electricians know how to do it. And the procedure was to actually fully shut down that elevator completely, and then go inside and do maintenance, and then go through the process of starting the elevator all over again. But that was so disruptive to the flow of traffic on the ship each day, and it's just kind of a hassle. And so Jose and the other electricians had come up with this sort of workaround that didn't require them to shut down the elevator, because again, it was just a huge pain and they didn't want to do it. And so what they would do is they would wait until the elevator car within the shaft that needed to be maintenance on was at some other level, like on floor 2. They would go into the elevator on like floor 8 and then quickly do the maintenance on the inside of the shaft or whatever it is they had to do. Or sometimes they would actually have to do repairs on the elevator car itself. In which case they would just kind of go in real quick, do the repairs, get out again. But all of it was predicated on just kind of knowing where the elevator car was in the shaft and being really quick, in and out. And so Jose and the other electricians have done this many times with no issues. Well, on this day, Jose got into the elevator shaft to make these simple repairs. And so he actually was standing inside of the shaft on top of the elevator car that was down, a few levels down from 10. He began making these repairs, and suddenly the car merged into action because a guest unknowingly had walked into the elevator car and pressed floor 10. And so Jose is on this elevator car that starts moving, and before he can even figure out what's going on, the little opening that he used, the kind of service entrance into the shaft, had been covered up by the elevator car. And so his exit was now gone, and he was now relatively slowly moving up the shaft. Now, Jose would have no idea when his car was going to stop, but if it went to the top.
What do you think is the most compelling road trip?
Honestly, I think when you go through a pro-life response, there truly isn't any pro-abortion argument I have found that compelling.
Stephanie Gray Connor, welcome to Exclusives.
I'm honored to be part of your team.
Full disclosure, we go way back.
The shaft. Now, Jose would have no idea when his car was going to stop, but if it went to the top, he'd get crushed and move it. And so in kind of a moment of panic, Jose attempted to step to the side to somehow go between the wall and the elevator. It was like he didn't know where to go and do it, and he just took that path. But there was like an inch of space between the wall and the car. And the second he did that, the car kept going and sucked him down into that space and just destroyed him. And so by the time this elevator car reached its destination, the 10th floor, and that guest got off the elevator car, by this point, Jose's body had been totally destroyed, and all of his blood was dripping down the elevator shaft, splattering into the walls and hitting the ground, and it sounded like rain hitting the outside of the ship. And so that's what Sarah and her family were hearing. And then the reason that woman started screaming was she was the first one who turned and saw all this blood coming down the front of the elevator doors. Medics would arrive quickly on the scene, but there was nothing to do. Jose was deceased. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. Back in 2017, I was really struggling with my mental health. I had just left the military after almost a decade of service, and I was just really struggling to reintegrate into society. It was making me totally depressed. Now, I had a great support system around me. I had my wife, my kids, my parents, my siblings, friends, but I had such dark thoughts and feelings. I just didn't feel comfortable sharing them with people I loved. I was worried it would kind of upset them, and they'd also view me differently in a negative way, which, by the way, this is a very common train of thought amongst people who are feeling depressed. So I didn't realize how common it was, but there you go. Lots of people feel this way, and I did too. However, even though I didn't tell my family or friends anything, they eventually picked up that something was wrong with me. And they actually approached me and said, look, I really think you need to see someone. I think you need to see a therapist. And honestly, I was ready for that help. And so I did seek out a therapist. And my goodness, unburdening empathy to a trained, neutral third party was so fun. And of course, therapy is not a one-size-fits-all solution, but if you're really struggling right now and you're kind of holding it all in, you really ought to give therapy a try. And a really easy entry into therapy is BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a highly reviewed online therapy platform, which means you can get the help you need right from the comfort of your own home. All you have to do is fill out a short survey online, and then within about 48 hours, you get paired up with a licensed therapist, and then it's up to you how you communicate and how often. Also, you can change your therapist at any time for no additional cost. Let BetterHelp connect you with a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/MrBallin or select Mr. Ballin during the sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. At around 2 p.m. on September 24th, 2017, a 17-year-old college student named Sanjay climbed up onto this boulder that's right off to the side of this hiking trail that he was on. Sanjay was on a day trip with about 20 of his friends from college, and they were in this part of southern India that was really famous for its long, winding trails and all these boulders that kind of sat off to the side of the trails. And then at the end of these trails that were in this part of India is this beautiful ancient temple that a lot of people will go and take pictures in front of and go inside of. And so that was where Sanjay and his friends were ultimately headed, was this temple. And from the boulder that Sanjay had just climbed up on, he looked up the trail, and from his view now, which was now slightly higher, he could actually see just barely the top of this temple. So he was really excited about going to see it. He couldn't believe how close they were. But as he was standing on this boulder, staring at the top of the temple, he also realized that kind of off to the side of the temple, basically right next to it, was this beautiful pool of water with a big wall around it and steps leading into it. I mean, it kind of looked like a swimming pool. And so because Sanjay and his friends had been hiking all day to this point, and it was really hot out, Sanjay really liked the idea of going swimming. And so he actually jumped off the boulder and just started running towards the temple in this pool. And he was yelling to his friends as he did, like, hey, I'm going to go swimming. And so he ran, not to the temple, but to this random pool of water that was next to it. He got to the steps, and immediately took off his shirt, pulled his phone out of his pocket, put it on the steps. Then he walked his way into the water and turned around, hoping to see his friends coming after him. And sure enough, all of his friends were smiling and laughing and running after him, ripping their shirts off, putting their phones down, and jumping into it. And so pretty soon, this very quiet, peaceful pool next to this temple was packed full of very rowdy and crazy college kids. Now, to be clear, this pool of water was not intended to be a swimming area. It was dug about 300 years earlier for this temple, and many people began to view this pool of water as sacred because they believed it would cure diseases. And so what Sanjay and his friends were doing was totally taboo and not allowed. But I can promise you, Sanjay and his friends did not care. They were having a great time. And in fact, Sanjay was having such a great time that when he turned around and looked back up the steps they all charged in on, he saw one of his friends, whose name was Vishwas, was standing up out of the water, reading what looked like a plaque about this pool of water. And Sanjay hated the idea of one of their buddies not getting to experience this fun. And so Sanjay, a little out of pocket, yelled out to Vishwas, like, hey, stop reading that and get in the water. Let's go. What are you doing? And Vishwas was obviously kind of embarrassed to be called out so publicly in front of the 1,900 kids that were there. They're all looking up at him expectantly now, like, yeah, get in here, man. And Vishwas, he's like, okay, fine. And so he took off his shirt, put his phone down as well, and he got in the water with all of them. And very shortly after he did that, Sanjay kind of forgot about him and decided, hey, this would be a great time to take a photo of everybody here and memorialize this amazing trip. And so Sanjay, he waded over to the steps, he grabbed his phone, he came back towards the group, and he was looking at this big, rowdy crowd of his friends who were totally not paying attention to him. And he's saying, hey guys, come over here, I want to take your photo. Gather up, I'll take a photo of all of us. And so it took a couple of minutes, but eventually, all these kids got in frame, and Sanjay, held the phone out, made sure everybody was there, and all smiled, and he took a picture. And And then after he took the picture, Sanjay put his phone back on the steps and returned to just splashing and moving around with his friends. About an hour later, Sanjay and his friends had left the pool and were now in the temple and were just walking around exploring. But eventually, Sanjay just got tired of looking inside the temple. It was not very interesting to him. And so he eventually just went outside again and sat down on this little wall that was right outside the temple. And because he knew his friends would not be done for at least, 15 or 20 minutes or so, he just pulled out his phone and began kind of scrolling through social media and, doing what we all do on our phones. But eventually, Sanjay opened up his photo album to look at all the photos he had taken during the hike again, and then also that picture in the pool, and then also some pictures he took inside of the temple. And so he pulls up his pictures and just kind of starts scrolling through them, and he eventually reaches the photo that he took, selfie style, in the pool with all of his friends together. And so he opens that picture up, looks at it, and he smiles because it definitely was the best picture he took. All his buddies in the frame, everybody seemed so happy. But as Sanjay was looking at this photo, he realized there was something odd about it. There was just something in this photo that just seemed like it shouldn't be. And as he looked more closely at it, the smile on his face faded. Just a little bit. He didn't know if what he was looking at was real or not, but he knew he had to go find out. And so Sanjay put his phone away, and he looked up and began looking around outside the temple at all the other people who had left, and many of them included his friends. They were walking around, talking in groups or whatever, and Sanjay, he began looking at all of his friends and stare at their faces. He was looking for something, but he didn't see what he was looking for. And so after scanning the entire outside and not feeling satisfied, Sanjay got up and speed walked back into the temple and began going into each and every room, looking at every single person he encountered, and when he would find one of his friends, he would stare at their face, and when he didn't find what he was looking for, he just kept on going to every single room until finally he reached the last room of the temple, and he found the last of his friends, and he looked at their faces, and still he did not see what he was looking for. And so now Sanjay is truly panicked. He's actually horrified at this point. He runs back outside, and he finds their college professor who had come along to sort of chaperone the trip. He ran up to this professor and he pulled out his phone. He opened up that photo of them in the pool, and he showed the professor what he had found. And Sanjay pointed out the strange thing about this photo. And so the professor, he began looking at the photo too, and right away he also could see this very strange thing that's very out of place. And so the professor asked Sanjay a few follow-up questions, about what Sanjay had done since discovering this. And after Sanjay said, I've been all over the temple, still can't figure it out. And so the professor knew the police would have to get involved. And so the professor got in touch with the police, and so the police came out to the temple not long after that. And the students, so Sanjay and all of his friends, had been instructed to stay right by the temple, not go down to the pool, stay up here, let the police handle it. And so when the police came in, they came running by the group, and Sanjay and his friends were just kind of watching anxiously, waiting to see what happens. And then as the officers went down to the pool, from where Sanjay and his friends were standing, they actually did not have a clear view. The temple itself blocked their view, so they could not see the pool, but they could hear what the officers were doing. And at first, as Sanjay and his friends were standing there really nervously, they don't hear anything down at the pool. But then they hear one of the officers shout something out that he's found something. And then Sanjay and his friends heard all the splashing as clearly officers were jumping into the pool. It was at this moment when Sanjay heard that splashing that he knew the thing he saw in this photo had to be real. As horrible as that was, it had to be real. The reason why Sanjay's friend, Vishwas, was not in the water with everybody else, and why he was up reading that plaque about the history of his pool, was because Vishwas did not know how to swim, but he didn't tell anyone. Nobody knew this. And so he was probably kind of embarrassed about it, and so maybe he was reading his plaque as sort of a way to, act distracted, like the plaque is the reason he's not swimming. But then Sanjay, who meant no harm by this, but he yelled out to Vishwas, "Hey, come on, dude, get in here, come swimming with us." Because he did it so publicly in front of all the other friends, it seems like Vishwas felt very pressured into getting in the water. And that's what he did. Instead of telling anybody that he could not swim, he just kind of shrugged, put took off his shirt, pulled his phone out of his pocket, put it on the ground, and waded into the water. As soon as he did, the entire group just kind of went back to moving around and splashing and being totally chaotic. And then when Sanjay was like, hey, let's take that photo, he really did manage to get all of his friends in frame somehow. Except one of them was Vishwas, and you could only see the top of his head. It's because he was drowning in the background of that photo, just nobody knew. And so obviously, an hour later, when Sanjay's looking at this photo, he sees the top of Vishwas's head, and he's like, wait a minute, is he goofing around, or is he drowning? And then he ran all around the temple looking for Vishwas. He wanted to prove that he was not the pool still, that he was not the. But then after searching the entire area and not finding Vishwas, he went to his professor, they called the police, and he discovered his fate. And unfortunately, by the time the police pulled Vishwas out of the water, he was already deceased.
Johnny, you won't believe what I just found. Have you heard about Royal Kingdom?
Royal Kingdom? No clue.
Brand new puzzle game.
Not interested.
The game doesn't even need Wi-Fi. You can play from anywhere. Space, a remote island.
No Wi-Fi? That's a huge plus. What about those annoying ads?
Zero ads.
Zero ads. Are you sure?
Yeah, and it's free to play.
Free, no ads, and no Wi-Fi.
See? I know what I'm talking about.
Kenny, I'm ranked number 3 in the world in Royal Kingdom. Just love the sound of your voice.
I hate you so much. Today.
Wish you could apply for a credit card that won't ding your credit if you're declined? With your big financial friend, you can. With Experian's No Ding Decline. Get the Experian app now. Experian.
Late on the morning of June 27, 1957, a 25-year-old Austrian mountain climber named Kurt Duenberger plunged his ice axe into the deep snow ahead of him and then used the axe to pull himself up and over an ice floe. Kurt was totally physically and mentally exhausted by this point and only wanted to stop for like 2 seconds just to catch his breath. But he knew that was just not an option. Kurt and his climbing partner, a 32-year-old man named Herman Mule, were climbing one of the tallest mountains in the world called Chomolungma, which is located in northern Pakistan. And they were doing this climb all alone. It's just those two, and they had virtually no safety equipment. Now, for reference, this was not normal. Anybody who climbed Chomolungma did so with Sherpas, guides, oxygen masks. I mean, this was a dangerous climb, and so serious measures had to be taken to ensure it was safe. But Kurt and Herman felt like, that takes all the fun out of mountain climbing. There has to be, a real risk here for this to be worth doing. And also, critically, Kurt and Herman were well aware of the fact that if they successfully climbed Chomolungma with no safety equipment, so what they were planning to do, that would be a new world record, because nobody had ever done that before on this mountain. And so that felt like a really cool reason to go for this. And when they began their journey a few days earlier, when they began to climb, it had still felt like a great idea because the weather forecast was perfect for the rest of the time they expected to be on the mountain. However, earlier that morning, Kurt had turned around to talk to Herman and noticed off to the south was a kind of ominous dark cloud making its way toward them. Now, obviously, when you're on the ground and you look up and you see a dark cloud, you think, okay, it might storm, or it's actively storming, or maybe it's rain, maybe it's snow, but it's probably not a big deal unless it's like a tsunami or a hurricane or something. But dark clouds are just not really a big deal. But when you are 4 miles up one of the most treacherous mountains in the world, you got no other people with you, you got no safety equipment, and you see a dark cloud coming your way, yeah, that's terrifying. Because storms have been killing mountain climbers basically for as long as mountain climbing has been a thing. And so when Kurt and Herman saw this cloud, even though the weather forecast had been good, they knew that there was a real chance a storm was going to hit them before they reached the summit. So they had to make a choice. Abort the mission now, go back to camp, and potentially give up on this climb altogether, thereby not getting the world record. Or they could risk it and just try to speed their way up to the summit before the storm arrived. And because Kurt and Herman were actually within about 1,000 feet to the summit when Kurt noticed this dark cloud, they decided, you know what, let's just risk it. We can get up there to the summit, get this thing done before this cloud ever gets to us. And so that was the decision they made. And it was also why Kurt and Herman knew there was no way they could slow down even for a second. Because basically, this was a sprint to the top. If they slowed down, they might have died. And so, panting and exhausted with the wind whipping up like mad, Kurt and Herman just kept moving up that mountain as fast as they possibly could. But when they got about maybe 500 feet away from the summit, so they're really close at this point, something changed. As Kurt was about to bring his axe back down into the snow to, pull himself up one more step, he suddenly realized he couldn't see the mountain in front of him. Like there was nothing. It was just pure white all around him. He couldn't even see the sky. It was like he was just in this void all of a sudden. And the reason for this is because that dark cloud had caught up to them. They were literally inside of the cloud. That's why they couldn't see. And so from behind Kurt, even though he can't see anything, you could hear Herman desperately screaming up to him, "Hey, we've got to turn around right now!" And Kurt obviously knew, yeah, it's too late. We are not going to make the summit. We got to go. Kurt knew Herman was right. I mean, this is an absolute crisis. If the storm that's basically brewing all around them didn't kill them, certainly the result of the storm would. I mean, all the snow that's going to land is going to fill in their tracks. It would be nearly impossible to find your way back down again. And so this was like, we totally miscalculated, turn around and get out of here as fast as possible. And so that's what Kurt and Herman began to do. As fast as they could, they began going down the mountain, following along their tracks they had left along the way up. And pretty quickly, Kurt and Herman began making serious progress. And so Kurt was starting to feel optimistic that, maybe they had managed to escape this just in time. But right at that moment, the ground underneath Kurt began to tighten. Then Kurt looked down, and even though his visibility was basically nothing, he could tell from his legs that the ground was basically shifting underneath him. And then suddenly Kurt felt this feeling that you get when you're on a carnival ride and you're dropped, that feeling in your stomach that you're falling. He got that because the ground underneath him just gave way. It was an avalanche.
It was difficult to get her to transition over to a bottle.
That's one thing I was worried about was the nipple confusion. That's where these amazing nipple bottles come from.
The nipple feels really natural, like the mom's actual breast.
To go from breast to bottle and that for me is the perfect match.
So in absolute desperation, Kurt, who knows he's about to be sucked into an avalanche, he just jumped, like as far away from the mountain as he possibly could, kind of at an angle to the right, but he's leaping up and out of the avalanche and over to the right. But you gotta remember, he's on this really steep slope. This is not like jumping on flat ground where you jump up and just return to where you jumped from. He's on a slope. So when he jumped out and to the right, it was like he was jumping off a building. He fell something like 30 or so feet before he hit the ground again. But when Kurt hit the ground, he kind of expected to be gobbled up by the snow and keep being sucked down the mountain. But he wasn't. He hit the ground and didn't move. And then he kind of sat up and he looked around and he realized he had successfully jumped out of the avalanche. He had done it. He saved himself. And so he began looking around. The visibility is still terrible, but it's a little bit better because now the avalanche is basically going down the mountain. The storm is kind of passing, and so the visibility is decent. And Kurt is looking around, screaming out for Herman. He doesn't see him, and then it's like suddenly the visibility just opened up, and Kurt was able to look to his left where the avalanche had gone, and as he was looking, he saw what looked impossible. Basically, the land where they had been walking down this mountain was gone. It was like the avalanche had removed that part of the mountain. And so Kurt is basically laying in the snow on the edge of a new cliff where the avalanche had basically broken away the mountain. And so he's looking into this crevasse where the avalanche went and thinking, I can't believe how lucky I am, but I gotta go find Kurt. And so Kurt stands up, and he's pretty battered from this 30-foot fall, but he's got adrenaline pumping through him, so he feels pretty good. And he scrambles his way 30 feet back up the mountain to this ridgeline where he originally jumped out of the avalanche, hoping when he got up there that he might find some sign of where Herman went to, because they were pretty close together when the avalanche started. But when he got up there was no sign of Herman, and he turned around and looked back down the mountain, and he couldn't see Herman anywhere. But when he turned back around, looking now back up the mountain, so in the direction of where they had originally intended to hike, and then where they had to come back down from when they were in the cloud, he noticed that he could see very easily their tracks, he and Herman's tracks. And so with his eyes, he just kind of tracked these tracks all the way down the mountain to where he was. And as he did this, he noticed something. At first, it was like his brain couldn't compute what he was seeing. But after a moment, he knew. Here is a photo of what Kurt would have seen. However, keep in mind, this was not a photo Kurt took, and it's also from a slightly farther away perspective. But conceptually, this really is what Kurt saw that told him what happened to him. So in this photo, you can see the mountain, and the summit's at the top, and there's a trail that goes straight down and then appears to diverge. There's tracks that go to the left from our perspective, the English perspective, they go to the left around that cliff line, and the other set of footprints that disappear off the cliff. Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, the footprints that go to the left are Kurt's footprints. He just magically jumped and landed on the absolute edge of where this avalanche was going to happen. And Herman is the other set of prints. And so when that avalanche started, there was nowhere for him to go. He was sucked into that avalanche and dragged over 1,000 feet down the mountain, and his body was never recovered.
You know what they say. Get out, what you put in. I'm 2 steps ahead, but being a step ahead. We've got big goals in this kingdom. I built this, level by level, box by box. I've reached the top. New game, same dedication. No ads, never. I don't even need Wi-Fi. No risk, no rewards. It's time to level up. This is Royal Kingdom. You think this is a game? It is.
Tubi, free movies and live TV. Get it today.
Hey everybody, if you haven't heard yet, we announced some really big news recently. We are putting out a book, and it's amazing. It's called Mr. Bowler Presents Strange, Dark, and Mysterious, the Graphic Stories, and it's an amazing graphic novel we've been working on for over a year. And it's our very first book, so we're all very proud of this. We think it's going to be so amazing. So in this book, there are 9 stories, 5 of which are the old varieties. You've heard them on YouTube, and they've been remastered and put into this book. Then you have 4 full-length, brand new stories, which are amazing, that have also been put inside of this book. And the way we made those 4 new stories is to have them replicate the feel of YouTube. In fact, I would say this whole book is like the written version of our YouTube channel. It's totally a throwback to our OG fans who found us on YouTube. This is the book for you. It's going to be so good. The book's not coming out until my birthday, October 1st, but you can pre-order it right now by going to book.allenstudios.com. And also, after you pre-order, be sure to follow me on social media and all the other places that we put out content, because we're going to be teasing stuff about this book before release. Things like, sneak peeks into the book and some pieces of artwork and some behind-the-scenes stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but it all starts with pre-ordering that book. So again, go to book.allenstudios.com and pre-order our first ever official book. It's going to be great. Enjoy. So that's going to do it. If you enjoyed today's stories and you want to hear more like it, be sure to check out Mr. Ballin Podcast, which is available on all podcast platforms. It has hundreds of stories, and many of them are only available on podcast. So if you're consuming this content only on YouTube, there is a whole world over in the podcast side of the house that you should go check out. Again, it's called the Mr. Ballin Podcast, and it's available everywhere. Wait, don't go anywhere. If you're looking for more strange, dark, and mysterious videos, click here.
Unleash the power of Precision Diablo's Wood Demon Ultimate Polished Finish Blade. The game changer that delivers up to 10 times more polished quality cuts than standard blades. Faster, smoother, and more efficient. It saves time and money while eliminating the need for sanding and rework. When every cut counts, there's only one blade that delivers the perfect finish. Diablo's Wood Demon Ultimate Polished Finish Blade.
Today's episode is a very creepy, highly disturbing camping story. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's an interest to you, the next time the like button is asleep, go to their front yard and spell the words "I hate my neighbors" in gasoline all across their front yard, and then light it on fire. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. On the afternoon of May 6th, 2008, a 54-year-old man called Ricky Williams stood on the riverbank casting out his line into the waters of Bisbee Creek in western Virginia. Ricky was hoping to get lucky and catch some trout, but he'd been out here fishing for 30 minutes so far, and there were no bites. Normally, Ricky wouldn't care, because he loved just fishing for hours and hours at a time. But today, he and his dog, who was right with him, were really hungry, because they've been out in the woods camping for several weeks now, and their food supply was finally dwindling down to the end. So if they didn't catch any fish today, they might not eat. Now, for context, where Ricky was fishing in this old creek, despite its bleak name, it was actually a beautiful, secluded spot atop of a mountain that was on the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail is a very famous 2,200-mile-long trail that runs up and down the east coast of the United States. And why that is relevant is because there's this special code for people that hike on the Appalachian Trail. And the code, which all hikers know, is basically if you come across another hiker on the Appalachian Trail, it is your responsibility to help them if they need help. And it is their responsibility to help you if you need help. So it's this community of hikers that are always looking to help each other. And so Ricky was very aware of this code on the Appalachian Trail, and he was secretly hoping, as he cast his line over and over again and didn't get any bites, that a hiker or a group of hikers might come by this area, and maybe they would see him and come down and learn that he needed food, and they might just give him some of their food. But another half hour passed, and no hikers came by, and still Ricky could not catch any fish. But then suddenly, Ricky's dog was right next to him, wine, and kind of began shifting around like he was sensing a predator in the area or something. But as
nobody was moving towards him. And when Ricky heard this voice, on the one hand, he was pretty excited, because maybe this is a hiker who can give him some food. But on the other hand, Ricky couldn't help but feel really uneasy. Now, you need to understand that Ricky was an older guy, he was kind of frail, and over the past few weeks that he'd been camping with his dog, as his food supply had gone down, he had become skinnier and skinnier and skinnier, and so he really did not pose any sort of threat to anybody. He's like this really older man. Now, generally speaking, the Appalachian Trail was a very safe place, but over the last few decades, there had actually been several murders that took place on the Appalachian Trail, and in fact, one of those killings took place less than 2 miles away from where Ricky was fishing with his dog. And in that double homicide, a very well-known killer, Randall Lee Smith, had stabbed and shot to death 2 hikers. And so while Ricky was really looking for help from fellow hikers, at the same time, he couldn't help but feel somewhat apprehensive. Because again, Ricky was like this small, frail guy, and Ricky was well aware of these murders, and he was well aware of the fact that he was super close to one of the murder sites. And so Ricky was totally on edge as he's listening to this male voice get closer and closer, and then finally this man in his early 30s steps out from the tree line, and he looks over and he sees Ricky, and for a second the 2 men just kind of look at each other, but then this guy just grinned at Ricky and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And immediately Ricky felt relieved, because he could tell just from looking at this guy that very likely he was not a friend. The man introduced himself as Scott Johnston, and he told Ricky he was actually camping in the area with a friend of his who went out there fishing, just like Ricky. And Ricky pretty much immediately said, "Oh, great, nice to meet you. Do you have any food for me?" And Scott was like, "Absolutely." He dug into his bag that he had with him, and he pulled out a couple of energy bars and a bag of chips, and he threw them over the river.
Shelby Creative Markers, now in 12 new earth tones, paint like ink with the precision of a Sharpie, and they write on almost anything. New Shelby Creative Markers.
Do you want a ding to your credit? I don't want a ding. So when I needed a new credit card, I went to Experian. See these cards with no ding decline? Your credit won't take a ding if you decline, so you can apply with confidence. Get the Experian app now.
Threw him over the river. And he also gave some fresh bait to Ricky, so he too could cast that bait. And for the next couple of hours, Scott and Ricky just stood on the riverbank and fished together. And after a while, the trout did start hunting, and they did start catching fish. So the day kind of turned into a great outing for Ricky. And it got even better because as soon as the men were done fishing, Scott asked Ricky if he wanted to join him and his friend back to the campsite for dinner. Remember, Ricky had no food, so this was an amazing invitation. He said, "Yes, of course, I'd love to join." So the 2 men packed up their stuff right as the sun was going down, and then they began walking back into the forest where Scott had emerged from. As they were walking, Scott's fishing pole got tangled on a low branch, and he was really struggling to get it out of the tree. And so finally, he just told Ricky to, go on ahead. My campsite's right up there. It's a straight shot. Just go up the hill, and you'll see it. Ricky asked Scott if he was sure, and Scott said, "No, I'm totally fine. Go ahead." So Ricky said, "Okay." And he walked the rest of the way up the hill, and then when he walked out of the tree line into the clearing where Scott's campsite was, immediately what Ricky noticed was this enormous man who was like twice the size of Scott, and so 4 times the size of Ricky, kind of hunched over the campfire. And this huge man, who presumably was Scott's friend, he heard Ricky walk into the circle, and remember, it's nighttime, and they're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and so this guy, he turns his head around and sees this strange man just standing there, and Scott's nowhere to be found. And so this guy, he grabs a club, like a piece of wood, and he looks at Ricky kind of menacingly, like, "What are you doing?" And Ricky, who was so caught off guard by just how big this guy was, he put his hands up and he said, "I'm so sorry, Scott sent me up here. I don't know if this is the right site, I'm sorry." But just at that moment, Scott had finished untangling his fishing line, and he came out of the tree line, and patted Ricky on the back, and he said, "Oh, you've already met my friend Sean." And as soon as he said that, Sean looked like he basically let his guard down. He put the wood down, he stopped glaring directly at Ricky. But Ricky felt like Sean was not happy that Ricky was in his campsite, even though clearly Scott was the reason that Ricky was in his campsite. And so Ricky just felt really uncomfortable, and at the same time, Scott is ushering Ricky closer to the campfire to take a seat next to Sean. You know, Sean's a great cook, he'll cook up this fish for us, it's gonna be great, now take a seat. Ricky felt kind of annoyed that Scott was really forcing him to stay, but Ricky didn't want to be rude and just kind of abruptly leave, so he did take a seat next to Sean, who definitely was not excited to be sitting next to Ricky. Ricky just kind of sat there, waiting to see what would happen next. And what happened next is Scott walked over to Sean and handed off all the fish that he and Ricky had caught so that Sean could prepare them to cook them. And then asked Ricky to still be sitting there right next to Sean. Scott walked away from the campfire up to his truck, which was parked right next to Sean's Jeep, and Scott turned on the radio and began blasting country music. And when Ricky heard this music, he kind of winced, because to him, you know, part of the reason the outdoors, the Appalachian Trail, you know, being out in nature, part of the reason it was so wonderful was for the peace and quiet. And so it felt kind of like borderline disrespectful to be out in the middle of this beautiful place, blaring country music. And so to Ricky, he just couldn't help but feel like there's something off about these two guys. They just seemed really disrespectful and pushy and maybe aggressive. And so Ricky is just not happy. But again, Ricky didn't say anything and didn't attempt to leave, because again, he's really hungry, and so is his dog, and he needs to eat that fish. A moment later, Scott walked back from the truck and took a seat next to Sean, and then he, along with Sean, pulled out their knives and began deboning the fish. And as they were doing this, Ricky again is just kind of sitting there doing nothing. So he kind of eagerly asked, you know, hey, can you give me a knife and I'll keep the fish? But Sean and Scott kind of waved him off and said, don't worry, you got this. So Ricky just continued to sit there nervously, as all he could watch was the flashing of the light bouncing off the blades. But eventually, Scott and Sean finished deboning all the fish, put their knives away, and at that point, they began cooking the fish over the open flame. And suddenly, for Ricky, it felt like, you know, the mood had shifted a little bit. At least now, the two men were not fiddling around with weapons. You know, it felt kind of safe again. And so Ricky began making some small talk in hopes that would kind of, you know, settle his nerves. And so Ricky told the two men about how much he loved the Appalachian Trail and how he came out here all the time for weeks at a time with his dog. And Ricky would tell the men that, you know, sometimes he felt more at home out in the wild than he did at home. It was almost like being out in nature was a religious experience for Ricky. And he would even tell Sean and Scott that sometimes when he was out in nature, he would meditate and pray and even do some chanting like part of a ritual. I mean, he was really trying to be in tune with Mother Nature.
Ready to lose the hat and regrow the hair? With Serums by Hims, you can regain your hair and your confidence. Our serums are powered by clinically proven ingredients like minoxidil and finasteride, so you can grow thicker, fuller hair in 3 to 6 months. Your treatment is 100% personalized to your hair goals and comes at an affordable price that works for your budget, so you can step out with full confidence. Hats off to hair growth, the treatment that works for you. Start today at hims.com.
Mother Nature. But as Ricky continued to tell Sean and Scott about his personal life, he noticed the two men were definitely paying attention, kind of nodding along at appropriate points in the story, but at the same time, Ricky felt like these two men were also kind of looking at him like Ricky was thinking, as if they were not prepared to come out and say it, but after hearing all these things about his life, it was like, huh, what's going on with this guy? And so Ricky suddenly felt really embarrassed about being so open with these two guys who once again just seemed like they don't quite like him or even really want him. But luckily, right at that moment, the fish were done, and so the men just sat there in silence and wolfed down the food. By the time they finished, right about 8 p.m., it was very dark outside, and Ricky at this point was just ready to go, and he just felt so uneasy here. So after putting down his plate and his silverware and saying thank you to Sean and Scott for their hospitality, he quickly got up and grabbed his dog and began walking into the woods towards his campsite. But after Ricky and his dog had walked maybe 10 or 15 feet away from his campsite, two things happened in rapid succession. Number one, Ricky suddenly stopped and turned around and looked back at the campsite. Two, right as he did this, there was this enormous bang sound, like a small explosion that echoed through the forest. Okay, so if you're not listening to our show called Run For, then you are really missing out on a truly special and unique podcast. Now, it's technically a horror podcast, but honestly, it's so much more. Every episode is a fresh take on terrifying horror and a modern ghost story wrapped up in a tightly swung narrative. Also, remember, Run Fool is a Fallen Studios podcast, which means there's always going to be a big plot twist or reveal. Rodney Barnes is the iconic host of Run Fool, and every story he tells on there, it feels like this fully immersive horror movie. Also, the sound design on the show is like expert level. Barnes really knows what he's doing. Even if you never watch the show, you should tune in just for a second, at least once, just to hear Barnes' radio voice. It is like the best, most soothing voice I think I've ever heard. So, if Run Fool feels like a show you might like, go run and follow the show and start listening. Also, be sure you stick around until the end of today's video, because we're going to play a clip from last week's episode of Run Fool. About 30 minutes later, and about 4 miles away from where Ricky and Sean and Scott had been, there were these two women who were in their house eating dinner, and they heard this sudden frantic knocking on their front door. Now, these women live in a very isolated part of the country, and so the women were very concerned. One of them rushed over to the phone just to be ready to call the police, while the other very carefully made their way towards the front of the house, and they kind of peered out the window, but they couldn't see anything outside. It was too dark, and so they went to their door, which was still getting pounded on by whoever was out there. And the woman, she unlocked the door, and she opened it just a crack. And what she saw nearly made her faint. There was a man standing on her porch who was absolutely covered in blood, as if he had been fully submerged in a tank of blood. I mean, he's all red. And the man had his hand over his neck. And the woman who opened the door, she looked at him, and she saw that there was this rhythmic pulsing of blood pumping out of his neck that was in time with his heart. This man is clearly bleeding. And so the woman, she screamed for the other woman to please call 911. We have someone who's dying here. And so she began calling 911. And then the man on the porch just said, please help me. And then he said something about Dismal Creek, and then he collapsed. And this was so shocking for the woman who opened the door that she just stood there staring, having no idea what to do. But then she happened to look up, and she noticed there was a Jeep that was idling out on the road in front of her house, which she hadn't even registered until now. And so either this guy got dropped off, or he drove that Jeep. But before she could even begin to understand what just happened, the ambulance, a whole bunch of police cars screaming up and parked in front of the house. Medics got out, rushed up, and they grabbed the bleeding man, they put him in the ambulance, and they rushed him off. Meanwhile, not far from the house, police officers were speeding towards Dismal Creek, because when the women called 911, they said, this guy who was shown up with a porch bleeding said something about Dismal Creek, but they had no idea what it was about. And so instead of trying to wait to figure out what was even going on, police had basically said, let's just go to Dismal Creek and look around and see if we can figure out, why someone would be in that area and show up at this house covered in blood.
Feed the whole crew with 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for just $6.99 each from Domino's.
Stability, precision, that's the essence of driving. Lawful.
Covered in blood. But as the police were making their way up this winding mountain road, they saw a truck bombing down the road, coming straight at them. And the truck, they initially hit their brakes and did kind of attempt to get out of the way of the police cars. But after this truck had basically come to a stop, the driver of the truck just hit the gas all over again, and they veered wildly off the side of the road into an embankment that crashed, flipped several times, and then came to a stop. And the police officers who veered to the side of the road to avoid getting hit by this truck, they just watched this happen, and they couldn't understand why the driver had gunned it again after stopping and then seemingly intentionally drove off the road. It almost seemed like the driver was trying to crash. And so the police, they got out of their car and they approached the wrecked truck with their guns drawn, but when they looked into the vehicle, they saw there was a single occupant, the driver, and he was still somehow alive. So the police got him out of the vehicle and they called an ambulance, but they actually sent an officer within the ambulance to escort them because the police were actually pretty suspicious of this truck driver. Because remember, they were going up that road to get to Dismal Creek to see what had happened there that would lead to another man showing up on somebody's doorstep in the middle of the night covered in blood. And now they have this truck driver who looks like he's speeding away from Dismal Creek. He crashes his truck. I mean, there was no clear connection between the truck crash and the bloody guy, but the police were suspicious that they had to be connected. So they sent the officer to the hospital this morning. About 30 minutes after the truck crash, the police left the scene and continued the rest of the way up the road to Dismal Creek. And once they got up there, the police fanned out all across the area and just began looking for just any clue that might explain what the heck happened here, if anything happened at Dismal Creek at all. And pretty quickly, the police actually did find something unique. In the middle of the Dismal Creek area, they found a campsite. But it was not the campsite where Sean and Scott were staying, where Ricky and John and shared dinner with them. This was a different campsite. And not long after searching this other campsite, police concluded that whoever was staying here did not seem like they were mentally well. This seems like a mentally unstable and potentially dangerous person, Fritz. So the campsite was really simple. It was just a tent and a campfire. But when the police lifted up the flap and looked inside the tent, they found a collection of 30 knives along with a police scanner that basically picked up police radio chatter in the area, so you could listen to a scanner and basically know what the police were doing in your area. There were also all these weird piles of clothing. Some were for kids, some were for adults, some were for men, some were for women. There were piles of eyeglasses, and there were 8 pairs of women's underwear. And then also there was a map of the Appalachian Trail inside this tent, and all over this map along the trail were all these spots that were circled. There was no information about what these circles meant. However, one of the places that was circled was Dismal Creek. And then next to the map was a radio, and inside the radio was a cassette. So the police just hit play, and immediately what they were totally freaked out, because the tape sounded like some kind of satanic ritual. It was basically this one man's voice just kind of howling and chanting over and over again. But by far, the most shocking thing that was found inside of that tent was a single piece of paper. This piece of paper was a birth certificate, and the name on the birth certificate was a name that basically all police in this area knew, and in fact, anybody living in or around the Appalachian Trail definitely would know this name. And the identity of this person, name on the birth certificate, was the key to putting together all these seemingly disconnected events that had happened on this night. From the explosion when Ricky walked away from the fire, to the bloody man at the house, to the truck crash, they were all connected through this single person. A few hours earlier, after Ricky had gotten up and walked away from Sean and Scott's campsite, and then after barely making it onto the trail, he had turned around and there was that loud explosion. Well, at that point in the story, Ricky, who's now looking back at the campsite and looking at Sean and Scott, you can see the two of them, they heard the sound too, and they were now staring at each other with looks of absolute shock and terror on their faces. But then Ricky watched as Sean reached up and touched his face, and he put his hand out in front of his face, and it was covered in red. The reason for that was because Sean had just been shot in the face, because that loud explosion was the sound of Ricky shooting his gun at Sean. And And as Sean and Scott stood there staring at each other in absolute disbelief, Ricky, who's still in the tree line, ran towards the fire and just kept on shooting. And so Sean, at this point, as he sees Ricky coming into the campsite, he stands up and kind of staggers back and falls on the ground. But Scott, who's not hurt at this point, he just gets up and starts running away from the campsite. And Ricky turns his attention towards Scott and shoots at him, and he hits him straight in the neck and also in the back. But somehow Scott just kept on running despite his horrible wounds. So Ricky watched as Scott disappeared into the woods, and then Ricky turned back to Sean, who's laying on the ground with Nick Melody there. He's been shot in the face. Ricky just casually raised the gun and shot Sean in the face. But amazingly, Sean, after getting shot the second time, it created what must have been the most extreme adrenaline rush ever, because he jumped up to his feet, right in front of his attacker, he just turned and sprinted to his Jeep, hopped inside, fired it up, and just sped away as fast as he could. And when Sean flipped on his headlights and turned a corner after getting away from the campsite, he looked down the road and he actually saw his buddy, Scott, who had run away first, come tumbling out of the woods onto the road. And so Sean, who's gravely injured, drives over next to Scott and stops the Jeep long enough for Scott to climb inside, and they shut the door and they speed their way towards the nearest home, which happened to be that house where those two women lived. And so it was Scott, who looked like he was drenched in blood, who knocked on the woman's door. Sean was down in the Jeep out on the road, but he was just too weak to get out and come up to the door as well. But when the ambulance and the police arrived, they could find not only Scott up on the porch, but also Sean in the Jeep, and both men would be taken to the hospital through the helicopter. And then as for the man who was driving the truck down the road away from Dismal Creek, who had crashed right in front of the police, well, the driver of that truck was Williams. However, that was not his real name. There was no Ricky Williams. That's the name he just used. His real name, which was on the birth certificate that police found in that other campsite inside the tent, was Randall Lee Smith. The same infamous Randall Lee Smith who had murdered those two hikers not far from Dismal Creek. That double homicide had happened in 1981, and Randall was caught and convicted, but he was paroled 15 years later in 1996 for good behavior. And for 10 years after that, Randall lived with his mother and wore this electronic bracelet, and he followed the rules. But by 2008, his electronic bracelet came off, and even though Randall had attempted to continue living with his mother, it just wasn't tenable, he didn't have enough money, and so ultimately he packed up his things, grabbed his dog, and moved out onto the Appalachian Trail. And on May 6th, 2008, when Sean and Scott arrived in Dismal Creek to go fishing, Randall was waiting. Nobody has any idea why Randall murdered those two hikers back in 1981, or why he targeted Sean and Scott in 2008. All we know is that Randall Lee Smith was very mentally unwell and very likely viewed the Appalachian Trail as like his sacred place. This is his home. This is the place he loves more than anything. And so maybe, he felt like Sean and Scott had somehow disrespected the Appalachian Trail, and that was enough to attack him. Now, we know Sean and Scott did not do anything intentionally disrespectful to Randall, because, amazingly, Sean and Scott survived this attack. And they would say that when they saw Randall, they just felt bad for him. They thought he was like this alcoholic drifter who didn't have a home of his own, and so he was just living out in the woods on the Appalachian Trail. And so they didn't judge him. Instead, they really did just want to give him some food and spend some time with him and make him feel good. That was it. And because Randall appeared to be this very small, older man, Sean and Scott, who were very big and imposing, they didn't feel threatened by this guy. As for that bizarre other campsite that police found up around Dismal Creek, the one that contained all those knives and birth certificate, well, obviously that was Randall's campsite. And that weird cassette tape that they listened to that sounded like a satanic ritual, that was Randall going through his meditations and the chants that he would do when he was out in the middle of nowhere. It was like his way of respecting Mother Nature and the Appalachian Trail, and then all those items that were found inside of his tent, the different clothes, underwear, eyeglasses. Well, those DNA samples did not match any of the missing people or murder victims in the police's database, and so that wasn't useful. And then also, police went to all those places on that map that were circled, and with the exception of obviously District 3, they didn't find anything else at the other locations that suggested any violent event happened. So, only Randall knows the truth, which means we will never know the truth, because just 4 days after Randall was pulled out of that truck that he crashed, he died in police custody from the blood clot that formed as a result of the crash. In those 4 days that Randall was in custody, he never gave up that there were any other victims.
Hi, we're Oars and Outs. We make sunscreen for men, because man needs more sun. Oars and Outs.
Last summer, a sizzling group of islanders lit up the Love Island USA villa. And now, for the first time ever, they're bringing the Love Island energy to a new series.
We are back.
Love Island Beyond the Villa.
That Randall was in custody, he never gave up that there were any other victims. Today, Sean still has a bullet in his head and in his chest, and Scott still has big scarring on his neck and on his back. But both men have made a full recovery, relatively speaking, and they still go back to Dismal Creek all the time to go camping and fishing. As promised, here is a clip from last week's episode of our amazing podcast, Run Fool, hosted by the incredible, iconic storyteller, Rodney Barnes. Enjoy.
The first guy that stood up was about 6 feet tall, with thinning hair he wore swept back from his forehead. He was dressed elegantly, his sweater unbuttoned, unusual enough in a suit of fleece jackets, and his eyes were hollow in his skull. You write a lot about monsters that the rest of us don't actually believe in, the guy said. Reptiles, werewolves, murder ghosts, whatever. A chuckle rolled through the theater. I'm wondering if you'd ever consider addressing the other kind of monster. The real kind. The kind of monster that looks more like a man. He stared back. I'd met far more of the human type of monster than I ever had the type with fur. But that's not what was giving me pause. Instead, it was the certainty that this guy had a story to tell. I was right about that. Because his story, it would be one of the most frightening tales I'd ever heard.
So that's going to do it. If you enjoyed today's story, be sure to check out our podcast called Least of All a Podcast, where we literally have hundreds of stories that sound an awful lot like this one, but many of them are only on the podcast. Again, it's called the Mr. Baller Podcast, and you can listen to it on Amazon Music or wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. Until next time. Wait, don't go anywhere. If you're looking for more strange, dark, and mysterious videos, click here.
What do you think is the most compelling pro-choice argument?
Honestly, I think when you go through a pro-life response, there truly isn't any pro-abortion argument I have found that compelling.
Stephanie Gray Connor, welcome to Exclusives.
On the night of February 19th, 1994, a man in Southern California called 911 because his girlfriend was struggling to breathe. When the 911 dispatcher picked up this man's call, he was very distraught and asked them to please send an ambulance as fast as you possibly can. But despite how upset this man was on the phone, he was not actually surprised this situation was unfolding. His girlfriend, 31-year-old Gloria Ramirez, had been diagnosed with terminal cervical cancer just 6 weeks earlier, and the doctors had told her that she likely did not have much time left. And, making this even more tragic, Gloria had actually gone into the hospital a few years earlier with symptoms and signs that she likely had cancer, but the doctors missed it. Had they caught it back then, they likely could have saved her. Still, after receiving a very grim diagnosis just a few weeks earlier, Gloria had resolved to fight her cancer as best as she could. After all, she had a lot to lose. Gloria had 2 young kids. She had a boy and a girl who were 9 and 12 years old respectively. And Gloria absolutely adored them and really devoted her life to them. In the evenings, she would play with them and help them with their homework. And the whole time, she'd be cracking jokes to make them laugh and smile. And then even when Gloria was not actively parenting her kids, she was always a very positive presence in their lives. She was optimistic, she was happy, she was upbeat, and oftentimes she could be found wandering around with a big smile on her face, singing a religious hymn to herself. So, when Gloria got this terrible news that she had late-stage cancer, she was obviously terrified and sad, but she was also very determined to find a way to survive because she knew her kids still needed her. Around the time Gloria was diagnosed, her doctors told her she would begin radiation treatment for her cancer at the end of February, so she had a few weeks to wait. And so during this waiting period, Gloria found herself spending a lot of time researching her disease, looking for things she could be doing on her own right now to make herself feel better, or even potentially increase the odds of her survival. So, on February 19th, when Gloria told her boyfriend that she was starting to have some issues breathing, the boyfriend didn't hesitate for a second to call 911 because he knew firsthand from living with Gloria that she was desperate to survive. And so any changes in her symptoms needed to be treated like an emergency. It was around 8 p.m. that night when the ambulance pulled up in front of Gloria's home. Paramedics climbed out, they rushed over to Gloria, they put her on a stretcher, they gave her a mask with oxygen, and then they loaded her into the back of the ambulance, and then seconds later they were flying down the road with their sirens blaring. While they sped toward the hospital in Riverside, which is a city about an hour east of Los Angeles, one of the paramedics on board the ambulance called ahead to the Riverside Hospital emergency room to talk to one of the doctors. And the doctor who answered was a 33-year-old woman named Dr. Julie Gorchinsky. And she loved her job. She loved the thrill and excitement and challenge of working in a big city emergency room. And so she takes this call, the paramedics tell her that they have a patient who has terminal cancer, she's having a hard time breathing, and her heart rate is becoming very unstable to the point where if it's not controlled soon, it's going to kill her. And they told Julie they would be there in about 5 minutes. So Julie, she hangs up the phone and immediately began preparing for receiving a critical patient, as well as getting trauma room 1 ready, which is where Gloria would be treated. Now, as bad as this situation was for Gloria, for Julie and the other nurses and doctors in this emergency room, this was kind of business as usual. They were used to receiving patients that were in very rough shape. And so as Julie and the rest of her medical team waited for this ambulance to arrive, none of them were worried that they wouldn't be able to handle this patient. They thought tonight was going to be as routine as any other night. However, they would be very, very wrong. The ambulance ride took about 15 minutes, so they pulled into the Riverside Hospital right at 8:15 p.m. And as soon as the ambulance came to a stop, the paramedics jumped out, they ran around to the back, they opened up the back doors, they pulled Gloria out still on her stretcher, and they pushed her as fast as they could through the doors into the emergency room. Once inside, Julie and the rest of her team, they took Gloria and they pushed her left down the hallway into trauma room 1. Once inside, the doctors and nurses immediately noticed that Gloria's heart rate was spiking dramatically and her blood pressure was falling dramatically. So, Julie and her team began administering a standard set of treatments for someone in this condition. They switched Gloria's oxygen mask she had been using on the ambulance ride for a more powerful one. They gave her painkillers, sedatives, and drugs to help steady her heartbeat. And at first, the treatments seemed to be working because pretty quickly Gloria's heartbeat began to level out. However, it didn't last. Soon, Gloria's heartbeat was racing so insanely fast that all of these alarms were going off on her heartbeat monitor. Knowing they had to act quickly, Julie and her team began removing Gloria's t-shirt in order to administer electric shocks to her chest with paddles. This is a way for doctors to kind of reset a patient's heartbeat. As the nurses got the electric paddles ready,
They, and the rest of the medical team, suddenly noticed two strange things about Gloria. The first was that Gloria seemed to be emitting this strange garlicky smell from her mouth. The second was Gloria's skin looked very greasy. However, despite the entire medical team taking note of these two things, no one thought they were significant. Lots of patients suddenly are brought into the ER, and very rarely do they have a chance to shower or brush their teeth beforehand. And so they figured that was the reason she looked and smelled that way. Finally, the big electrical paddles were ready, and so the nurses placed them on either side of Gloria's heart, and then they began sending powerful bolts of electricity into Gloria's chest. While the nurses worked on Gloria's heart, other members of the medical team needed to assess Gloria's overall condition. And so to do that, they needed to draw her blood. So a nurse took an alcohol wipe and cleaned a small spot on Gloria's arm, and then she took a syringe and jabbed it inside of Gloria and began to draw. And as soon as she did this, Trauma Room 1 filled with a new smell. It was a chemical smell. And Julie immediately noticed it, and she looked over at the nurse doing the blood draw, and she said, "I think it smells like ammonia in here." And the nurse who was doing the blood draw kind of scrunched her face up in disgust and nodded in agreement. The nurse finished the blood draw and then handed the blood vial to Julie. And as Julie was taking this blood vial from the nurse, she noticed the nurse looked suddenly very confused and very disoriented. Her eyes were kind of flickering and she was staring straight ahead like she didn't know where she was. And so Julie, she sees this in the nurse, and then she glances down at this blood vial in her own hand now, and she sees something she's never seen before. The blood inside this vial, Gloria's blood, was full of these small white crystals. But before Julie could tell anybody else in the room about these strange crystals in the patient's blood, the nurse who had done the blood draw went from being dazed and confused to collapsing on the ground. Luckily, another doctor had seen the nurse starting to collapse and dove out and caught her right before her head hit the ground. This collapsed nurse was very quickly placed on a stretcher and wheeled out of Trauma Room 1 so the other doctors and nurses could focus on Gloria, who was obviously dying. And so Julie, who was still just standing in the middle of this room holding this vial of blood, was wondering what the heck just happened to her colleague, and she's also looking down at these crystals thinking, I've never seen this before, what does this mean? And right as she was about to flag one of the other medical team members over to look at it, Julie began feeling very nauseous, and her head started spinning, and then she felt like she might collapse, and so not wanting to cause any more distractions for the main team, she quickly placed this vial of blood on a nearby tray, and then she quickly made her way out of Trauma Room 1 and sat down in a nearby chair. As soon as she sat down, another staff member at the hospital, who had not been inside of the trauma room, ran over to Julie and asked her, hey, are you okay? And Julie, she looked up at the staff member and she tried to speak, but she couldn't. And then her eyes rolled back into her skull and she slumped forward and fell to the ground. And at the same moment that Julie was collapsing outside of Trauma Room 1, inside of the trauma room, there was another thud as another nurse collapsed, and then another, and then another. And before long, screams were coming out of Trauma Room 1 as people inside who had not collapsed yet are looking around, seeing their colleagues just dropping like flies for no reason. And so pretty quickly, the call came out over the hospital intercom to evacuate the hospital. The only people that would stay back would be a skeleton crew of doctors and nurses and Gloria, because they felt like moving Gloria outside right now would likely kill her. We need to save her right now. Outside the hospital,
There's something evil here. Something I felt before.
Another moment to see what the crunchy nooks and crannies splendor of a Thomas's English remark.
Tom, which is a nook and which is a cranny?
It's a nook, cranny, 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 nook, cranny. I mean, they shouldn't teach me this in school. Huzzah! A toast to breakfast!
They were 12 years old, bright yellow ribbons in their hair. They smiled with Mickey Mouse arms around them, a moment frozen in time. But when their mother returned just minutes later, they were gone, vanished, in the middle of Disneyland. No scream, no struggle, no goodbye. The photo was the last proof they had ever existed. And nearly 3 decades later, when workers uncovered something buried beneath the park, beneath the very place where millions of people walk every year, the truth began to surface. And it wasn't magical. Before we unravel this chilling decades-long mystery, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because some stories take years to find the ending. This one starts with smiles and ends with silence. The family behind the story, the Chen family, had only recently started over in California. Fernanda Chen, a single mother from Guangzhou, had immigrated to the United States in 1982 after a workplace fire took her husband's life. With two daughters, identical twins, Mariana and Liliana, she worked night shifts in a textile factory, saving every dollar for her girls. By 1985, Fernanda had one goal: to give the twins a birthday they'd never forget. Disneyland, California, the most magical place in America. They arrived at the park on July 15, 1985. It was hot, crowded, perfect. The twins were dressed identically pink t-shirts with sparkles across the chest, light blue denim overalls, clean white sneakers, and those matching yellow ribbons that Fernanda had tied herself that morning. They were all smiles, holding hands, skipping through the park like every ride was a dream. By all accounts, it was one of the happiest days of their lives. Until 3:07 p.m. The last photo, they were in Tomorrowland when they saw him, Mickey Mouse, one of the cast members in full costume. He was animated, waving, hugging kids, shaking hands. Mariana squealed with excitement. Liliana, quieter but equally thrilled, tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Picture," she whispered. Fernanda agreed. She snapped 3 photos, the last of which would become infamous, the twins standing on either side of Mickey, both beaming. What happened next is still a matter of bitter debate. Fernanda excused herself to the restroom, not 100 feet away, and by her own account, the Mickey character nodded and mimed staying with the girls. Other guests later confirmed seeing him interact with them, even laughing and walking slowly in a small circle as if entertaining them. When Fernanda returned, the space was empty. No twins, no Mickey, nothing but echoes. The panic begins. At first it was disbelief. Maybe they'd run off to another character, a shop or ride. Then it became confusion, then fear. Fernanda searched frantically for 10 minutes before alerting a staff member. By 3:30 p.m., Disney security was involved. Rides in the surrounding area were paused. Announcements were made. Staff fanned out. Witnesses came forward with only fragments. I saw the girls following Mickey toward the arcade. They were near the Space Mountain Tunnel. There was a second Mickey near the fountain. Surveillance cameras in 1985 were limited. There was no live feed, no park-wide facial recognition, and only grainy low-frame footage from fixed angles. No video ever showed the twins exiting. No one matching Mickey's full costume was seen leaving. And then came the worst detail. The performer assigned to that Mickey suit during the 2:33:15 p.m. shift never returned to the staff rotation. They simply vanished. The investigation. Anaheim police launched one of the most intensive searches in the city's history. Disney executives, terrified of the PR fallout, cooperated, fully supplying staff rosters, costume checkouts, and security badge logs. But there was one glaring issue all the cast members accounted for that day were cleared. The Mickey that Fernanda saw didn't match any employee costume rotation. His suit was different, slightly faded. His gloves were stitched at the fingertips, not regulation. His height didn't match anyone on staff. Someone had impersonated Mickey Mouse and walked into the park unnoticed. The FBI was brought in. Dozens of other Mickey costume sightings were traced and interviewed. But the one man, the one who posed with the Chen twins in that photo, was never found. A cold case frozen in time. As weeks turned to months, the case cooled.
There are some things that just go better together. Then there's things that would be better combined, but hadn't been. Until now. Introducing Business Essentials. A powerful combination of checking and card payment processing from U.S. Bank, which means you get quick access to the money you throw and unlimited digital transactions with no monthly maintenance fee checking. Business Essentials helps make managing your business easier. That's the power of us.
I wish I knew my liver disease could affect my brain and lead to overt hepatic encephalopathy. During one episode, I drove for hours, disoriented and confused. I wasn't myself. Xifaxan helped change that. It helped reduce my risk of other episodes and HE-related hospitalizations.
Xifaxan is the first and only medicine approved for reducing the risk of OHE recurrence in adults. Don't use if allergic to Xifaxan, rifaximin, or rifamycin antibiotics. Get help right away if diarrhea occurs. It may be a sign of a serious or fatal condition. Tell your doctor if pregnant, plan to be, or are nursing. Have severe liver disease or take medications that may increase Xifaxan levels in your body. Most common side effects are swelling of the belly or limbs, constipation, nausea, fatigue, insomnia, dizziness, UTI, anemia, and itching. Talk to your doctor about Xifaxan.
He's cooled. No bodies, no ransom notes, no credible suspects, just a grieving mother and a grainy photograph. The media dubbed them the Disneyland twins. The case gained national attention, sparking debate about child safety park surveillance and costume impersonation loopholes. But without leads, everything stalled. Fernanda never left California. She refused to declare the girls legally dead. Every year on July 15th, she left 2 yellow ribbons outside the park entrance. Every year she waited, and for 28 years, nothing changed, until 2013. Part 2, The Head in the Drain. In February 2013, Disneyland was preparing for its newest attraction, a futuristic renovation of Tomorrowland. The project required extensive underground work, including the removal of legacy drainage systems that hadn't been touched since the early 1980s. Just past midnight on February 17th, 2 contracted workers were clearing debris from a sealed concrete drain shaft beneath the utility corridor. The passage, narrow and poorly lit, hadn't been mapped on any modern blueprint. At Toth, 12 a.m., one of the workers radioed and his voice reportedly trembling. We found something human. What they found would reopen one of the darkest files in Anaheim police archives. What the earth gave back, wedged inside a rusted metal grate hidden beneath decades of grime and runoff, was a severed human head mummified by arid conditions and encased in a faded rubber mask. The mask was unmistakable. Mickey Mouse. Not a replica, not a toy, but a full-size Disney character mask, custom-molded, professional grade, fused to human remains. Forensics confirmed the impossible. The human tissue inside the Mickey head belonged to a male in his late 40s, likely deceased since the mid-1980s. There was no jaw, no identification, only a small fragment of bone near the orbital socket. A forensic artist digitally reconstructed the face, and what emerged bore striking resemblance to a former Disney cast member who had vanished in 1981, a man named Robert Ellis. Who was Robert Ellis? Robert Ellis had once worked as a part-time cast performer in Disneyland from 1979 to 1981. Known for his punctuality and quiet nature, he disappeared from his apartment without a trace. At the time, no foul play was suspected. Authorities assumed he'd moved or joined a traveling entertainment show, but his file had never officially been closed, and now his decapitated head was beneath Disneyland wearing the suit he used to perform in. But the timing didn't match. Ellis vanished in 1981. The Chen twins went missing in 1985, which raised a terrifying question. If Ellis was dead, who wore the Mickey costume that lured the twins away? Back to the beginning inspector, Natalia Reeves, a newly promoted homicide detective who had studied the Chen file in college, was brought in to lead the reopened case. She re-examined the original 1985 park photos, including the famous image of the twins hugging Mickey. She focused on one detail, the glove stitching, odd frayed and non-regulation. That same stitching style matched an archived police photo of Ellis in his costume from 1980. And there was something else. One guest photo taken by an unrelated family just minutes before the twins vanished showed Mickey standing still in the background, but his eyes weren't facing the camera. They were turned sideways, watching the twins. Part 3. The Costume Room. 2 weeks after the discovery of Robert Ellis's head beneath the drain shaft, Inspector Reeves received a tip that shifted the entire investigation. An anonymous letter postmarked from Santa Ana arrived at the Anaheim Police Department. It was typed unsigned and sealed in a plain white envelope. The message read, "The others are still below. Behind the old prop cellar, door 3C. Ask for the keys Disney never logged." It sounded like nonsense, or a hoax. But Disney's internal security archives did reference a forgotten area known as the prop cellar, once used for storage in the 1970s before being shut down during a fire code revision. It had been locked for over 30 years. Door 3C, on March 5, 2013, accompanied by Park Security and Forensics, Inspector Reeves entered the sub-level corridor beneath Adventureland, a region marked off-limits since 1986 due to seismic retrofitting. They found Door 3C, painted black, rusted hinges, no record of its existence on current facility blueprints. When forced open, it revealed a chilling space. Dust-covered mannequins, prop coffins from Haunted Mansion.
In business relationships, I look for two things: saving time and accuracy. If you don't have both, I'm out. I need someone who can automatically match and record my
Haunted Mansion. Rotting wooden crates labeled Fantasyland 1975. And in the back, a row of garment bags hanging from an oxidized pipe. Inside the bags, 5 full character suits, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and one costume that never officially existed. A darkened Mickey Mouse variant, muted colors, longer gloves, wider eyes. It wasn't designed for performance. It was built to disguise a person in plain sight, evidence left to rot. Forensics collected fibers, traced DNA and samples from all 5 costumes. The strange Mickey suit contained something else. Human hair, bone fragments, a partial molar belonging to a child estimated to be 10 to 13 years old. Testing confirmed it was a match to Liliana Chen. After 28 years, her presence had been confirmed. Not in the park, not in a grave, but sealed inside the lining of a costume meant to entertain. But there was no sign of Mariana. Reeves began to suspect what no one wanted to say out loud. There may not have been one imposter. There may have been a group. Part 4, Room 0. It began with a confession. 3 weeks after the discovery of the hidden costume room, an anonymous email was sent to Inspector Reeves's personal department address. No name, no traceable IP, just one line. Room 0 was real. I was there in 1985. The twins were not the first. Attached was a grainy image, what looked like a concrete hallway, dimly lit with cartoon decals peeling from the walls. At the end, a heavy metal door. Faintly visible stenciling above it read RZ01. Disney had no record of any location labeled Room 0, but long-time maintenance staff recalled rumors of a pilot storage tunnel built beneath the original Fantasyland during the late 1970s, a dead-end construction project, abandoned and sealed after budget cuts. If Room 0 existed, it wasn't meant for guests. It wasn't even meant for employees. The Descent. On April 11, 2013, under tight security, Reeves and a forensics team followed an access path buried beneath a maintenance lift near It's a Small World. The passage was narrow and lined with crumbling plaster. Every few feet, cartoon faces were painted over exposed wires, their smiles fading in the damp. At the end stood the door from the photo. Arzet Niluara. It was cold to the touch, locked by 3 deadbolts. When forced open, the stench hit them first. Mold, dust, rot. The space inside was roughly 30 feet wide, lit by old fluorescent tubes still wired into emergency backup power. In the center was a rusted metal table bolted to the floor, and on the wall, 8 names, scrawled in faded marker, 6 crossed out, 2 not. The uncrossed names, Liliana, Mariana. What they found, inside scattered across the room, were decayed fabric scraps, children's shoes, and an old reel-to-reel tape player. When powered on, it emitted a series of looping audio clips, snippets of Disney songs distorted and slowed beyond recognition. Some staff reported hearing a second voice layered beneath the music whispering. Others claimed it called their name. In one corner they found a trapdoor sealed, not empty. Inside was a deteriorated wooden box padded with insulation foam. Wrapped in an old space-mounted t-shirt was a child's femur. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Mariana Chen. She had been beneath the park for 28 years. Unmarked, unmourned, Storr, the one who knew with media frenzy mounting a former Disneyland security supervisor, came forward under witness protection. He claimed that in the early 1980s, costumed anomalies had been reported in the park after hours characters walking alone, refusing to speak, sometimes entering restricted areas without keys. When security footage was reviewed, those figures never appeared on camera, but witnesses swore they saw them. Some believed it was pranksters. Others feared something worse. The supervisor confirmed Room Zero had been hushed out of existence after a child vanished in 1981, and that suits were quietly destroyed, or so they thought. Someone had kept one, and used it again. Part 5, The Face Behind the Mask. After weeks of silence, the break came unexpectedly. A 63-year-old man named Dennis LaRue was arrested on an unrelated trespassing charge in Bakersfield. During booking, fingerprints flagged an old sealed file of former Disneyland maintenance subcontractor from 1980 to 1986. When questioned about his whereabouts in July 1985, LaRue became erratic. He mentioned the tunnels asked for his costume and whispered that Mickey was never supposed to bleed. Investigators obtained a warrant to search his rural home. What they found ended the case. The archive room. Hidden behind a false wall in LaRue's basement was a private museum of horror.
Pack your day with awe and awesome at SeaWorld San Diego. Be wowed by new wonders and reimagined rides, and save over 60 flavors during Bayside Brews and Barbecue at SeaWorld. Save up to 70% on tickets during our end of summer sale. Hurry, offer ends soon.
This is Buick, now. Buick, exceptional by design.
Get 0.9% APR on these 2025 Buick models. Plus, current eligible non-GM owners get up to $3,000 allowance on Encore GX.
Museum of horror. Polaroids of children inside character dressing rooms. Fragments of vintage Disney costumes, including dark Mickey gloves. Sound recordings labeled training audio. Voices warped and layered over carousel music. And most damning of all, a diary. Inside the diary were entries dated from 1981 to 1985. One dated July 16, 1985, read, "The twins were perfect. They smiled. They trusted me. The tunnels are mine now. Room Zero keeps secrets." He called it his kingdom. He saw himself not as a man, but as a character the park forgot. The final door. One last search was ordered this time beneath a long sealed section of the original tunnels. LaRue had drawn maps. One passage stood out, the mirror room. It was real. Behind a rusted panel, they found a chamber lined with one-way mirrors, surveillance glass facing out into various ride queues. Abandoned decades ago, the room held rotting furniture, a broken intercom, and scraps of costume fur pinned to corkboard. This was where LaRue had watched, where he'd picked the children he wanted to follow. Mariana and Liliana hadn't been the first. They were just the ones no one could ignore. Aftermath, LaRue was ruled unfit for trial, institutionalized, silent. Fernanda Chen passed away in 2016, 2 years after finally burying her daughters. Room Zero was sealed permanently. Park denied any knowledge of its purpose. But employees still whisper about the tunnels and the time Mickey smiled. Just a little too wide. Do you think LaRue acted alone? Or was he protecting something larger? Something still beneath the park? Let us know what you believe. And if this story stayed with you, like subscribe and turn on the bell, because there are still places no map will lead you to. And sometimes the happiest place on earth is hiding the darkest ones.
Photos, 7 levels. I've put together an iceberg of photos with seriously disturbing backstories. They're going to start pretty uncomfortable and dark. Before we get to the iceberg, the more disturbing and shocking they'll become. Let's start at the tip of the iceberg. Level 1. Musician trips and falls 600 feet. On August 20th, 2022, Andrea Mazzetto and his girlfriend Sarah Brigante climbed Altar Nova, a distinctive rock formation resembling an altar in Rozzo, Italy, his hometown. Andrea had been documenting their climb, sharing uploads with his 2,500 Instagram followers. Little did they know, it was all about to go horribly precipice, they smiled for a selfie against the breathtaking backdrop of the Italian mountains. Moments after taking that photograph, Zeto's phone slipped from his grasp, heading for the edge of that 300-foot ravine. Without hesitation, Zeto moved to grab it. As he reached for his phone,
covered in
ground
cobwebs.
gave way, causing him to lose his balance, edge, and tumble 600
Where'd you go crawling around?
into the Beldastico Valley below, all while Sarah watched. A massive rescue operation was launched immediately. Firefighters, alpine rescue officers, and medical personnel rushed to the remote location, but they were...
California is making nutritious school meals available to every student, and our local ranches and dairies are an important first step.
Nothing makes
Dr. Nicely.
I dragged myself toward the tree with my hands, gritting my teeth as I did. There was a reddening bulge under my pants, just below the knee, but I tried not to look at it. I knew it was a compound fracture, the bone of my lower leg sticking out of my skin. I felt sick as I leaned back against the tree, covered in a chill sweat. I brought out my phone and unlocked it. I had no signal. Of course there was no signal on this side of the island. Something sounded off in the jungle, and I looked up toward the nearby clearing. A Majungasaurus stood there, about 15 yards in front of me, staring at me with its reptilian eyes, looking a bit like a 7-foot-tall T-Rex with a horn. It looked hungry, its teeth bloody from a recent feeding. But it was a big dinosaur, and I was about the right size for a meal. I reached up and fingered my necklace, breathing a sigh of relief that it was still there. It would protect me. But then a terrible thought occurred to me, just as the dinosaur came forward on its 2 thick legs. I sat in the back of the open-top Jeep as it rocked, rolling along the dirt road. The sky was brilliant blue, with a few fluffy, unthreatening clouds floating slowly past. I could see the edge of the jungle through the dusty windshield. The road disappeared into a tunnel of trees up ahead, about a half-mile distant. Next to me in the back seat was Sears DeRoy, my boss's right-hand man. The front passenger seat held our 2 backpacks, while the park employee drove. In the Jeep behind us, my boss, Michael Leslie, rode with another man from our financial services company. His name was Steve James, and he worked in HR. I didn't know him very well, but I'd been working for Michael Leslie for years, and in that time, I'd gotten to know Sears DeRoy fairly well. This was not the first time I'd been on a dinosaur hunting expedition with DeRoy and Leslie. It was the first time with James, though. And as we approached the jungle, I turned in my seat to look back at the other Jeep. My boss saw me looking back and put a friendly hand up in the air. I returned the gesture happily. Steve James was looking around with a huge smile on his face. He was clearly happy to be a part of the elite crew that went hunting inside the special and expensive area of the park. Ever since the park opened, Leslie had been having our yearly team-building retreats here. But for a few days during the week-long retreat, Leslie always selected a few of his favorite employees to experience the thrill of hunting dinosaurs with high-powered rifles. Meanwhile, the rest of the company stayed in the park resort, checking out the rides, watching the T-Rex feeding from behind a massive electrified safety fence, or just enjoying the tropical weather on the beach. Don't get me wrong, that stuff was fun the first few times, but being allowed to actually hunt some of these amazing creatures was something else altogether. I'd never been a big fan of hunting before, but I always looked forward to coming on the retreat. Some years Leslie picked 4 or 5 people to come along, but this year it was only the 4 of us, and DeRoy didn't really count, because he went everywhere with Leslie anyway. He was a large man with a shaved head and cauliflower ears with a wrestling career in college. And although his official title was executive assistant, we all knew that he was really a glorified bodyguard and confidant. We drove into the shady jungle, and the temperature dropped several degrees, although it was still humid and sticky. As we drove deeper into the jungle, I watched for dinosaurs in the foliage. I saw some bushes shake as something about the size of a big dog turned away from us and moved quickly away from the road.
Hello, ladies and TV, and welcome to the Adobe Premiere Pro workshop. For the next 3 or so hours, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about Premiere Pro from the very beginning.
And moved quickly away from the road. I wondered what kind it was, but could only guess, as I didn't get a good glimpse of it. The Jeep pulled off the road and into a small clearing next to a 20-foot waterfall. The other Jeep pulled up next to it, and we all got out and started gathering our gear. Steve James pulled on his backpack and started fastening the straps, but I stepped over to him and tapped him on the shoulder. "You're going to want to keep that off for a minute," I told him. "They have to do the quick safety rundown. Might as well keep the heavy pack off your back while we're standing here." "Right," James said, smiling like a kid on his birthday. "Thanks." I didn't know much about him, but he seemed nice enough. He had a boyish face, even though he had to be in his mid-30s. His blonde hair with the side part only added to his childish appearance. The two Jeep drivers in park uniforms and hats caught our attention. They stood with their backs to the waterfall about 50 yards behind them, at least, giving us a great view of the beautiful landscape while they did their spiel. "You've all been given a necklace just like this one of the drivers said, lifting his own thick metal necklace out from his shirt collar. "And you all know the importance of them. But let me go over this again, because I'm legally obligated to."
Because I'm legally obligated to.
And we all chuckled at that. "These necklaces are what keep you safe on your hunt. We only stock certain dinosaurs out here in the hunting
At this
area.
rate, this camera's
Sorry,
gonna
fellas,
die before
but
that
you won't
ice
be
fully
finding
melts.
T-Rexes or velociraptors out here.
Yeah, he's all
But
solid
that's
up
not to say
top.
the dinosaurs you'll be hunting
I
are
wonder if I could
dangerous.
pull it out.
They are. But as
No,
long
it's
as you
probably
have your
still
necklace
stuck.
on, you'll be
I
safe.
don't know. Maybe.
Why don't you tell them why, Chuck? The other driver, whose name was apparently Chuck, took up the script. "See this thick part of the necklace?" he asked, holding his own out. "It has a proximity transmitter inside of it, and a backup proximity transmitter. They each have their own power source and are rated to last for 500 hours, okay? So if something happens to one of them, the other one will still work. All the dinosaurs in the hunting area have chips embedded in them that will give them a rather nasty surprise if they get too close to one of these necklaces. It's not lethal, but it's enough to make them turn around and head the other way in a hurry. We have never, I repeat, never had a dinosaur resist one of these proximity necklaces. And we've tested them on all kinds of dinosaurs, even ones you won't encounter out here. They are designed to work in a 10-foot radius, and they're strike-proof, waterproof, sweat-proof, and any other kind of proof you can think of. And they're locked on until you come out of this section of the park, at which point we'll take them off with a special device. Do you understand?" We all said we did. "Good," the first driver said. "They all double as GPS devices, so we'll be able to see where you are at any given time. You also have all been given radios. If anything happens or you just want to continue the hunt, contact us by radio and we'll come get you. If it's an emergency, we'll send a helicopter. With all that in mind, you're on your own for the next 2 days. We'll see you back at this spot at noon on Sunday. Do you have any questions?" "We're free to shoot any dinosaur we see out here, right?" Steve James said. "That's right," Chuck said. "If it's here, it's fair game."
Woo!
Any questions?
Nice.
There were none.
Nice,
The drivers wished us good luck, made sure we had all our gear, and then drove back down the road. Leslie swung his pack on and hefted his hunting rifle. "Are you ready, gentlemen?" he asked. "Let's go." We started along the trail skirting the waterfall. The plan was to stop at some blinds along the way and see if we could shoot anything before we got to our campsite, which was about 4 miles down the trail. We had no luck on our way to the campsite. There, Our spirits were still high. By the time we got to the area where we were going to camp, it was only
That's what happens when you don't defrost for
so
over
we
a
set up
year.
the tents and split
Frickin'
up into
ice
pairs
everywhere,
to roam
man.
the surrounding area, seeing if we could bag our first kills. My boss requested to go with me, and I agreed happily. It's always good to spend a little one-on-one time with the man who signs your paychecks. So we headed one way from the campsite, and DeRoy and James headed the other. We walked in silence for a little while, cradling our rifles. The sounds of birds and insects in the surrounding jungle made up our soundtrack. Soon enough, we came upon the blind, which was a sturdy wooden platform in a tree overlooking a clearing in the jungle. We climbed up and sat at the edge of the platform, one single thin crossbeam to keep us from falling the 20 feet or so to the jungle floor. Leslie and I sat in the blind for an hour before we saw a small group of dinosaurs come into view. I immediately recognized them, as they were the most common type in the hunting area, Coelophysis bowery. I called them CBs for short, since their name is a mouthful. They looked like miniature raptors to the untrained eye, but there were some marked differences. They were more sleekly built than velociraptors, with more bird-like bodies and narrower heads. They moved with effortless grace into the area, looking for lizards or other little animals to eat. Each of them was about the height of a large dog, although longer because of the counterbalancing tails they had. They used the tails almost like rudders when they got running really fast, which I'd seen them use before to attack a cow. There were probably 30 of them, and they swooped in on that cow and tore it apart before the thing could so much as move. They reminded me of piranhas, swooping in the way they did. But as Leslie and I sat in the blind, there were only a few poking around in the field below.
A lot of my friends told me I wasn't going to be able to do it. You don't need to start out with a teenager because they've had all these things that they've gone through.
Could lead him know the things he needed to.
But as Leslie and I sat in the blind, there were only a few poking around in the field below. I told Michael he should take the shot, but he insisted that I get mine while I could. I put my rifle to my shoulder, switched the safety off, and sighted down on one of the CBs through the scope. I took 2 deep breaths and took my shot. I knew as soon as I pulled the trigger that it was a good shot. The others scattered, but the one I'd shot at went down, a red flower in its chest just below the neck. "Good one," Leslie said to me, slapping me on the back. I smiled. It felt good to get one on the first day. "Well," Leslie said, "I doubt any dinos will come this way after all that noise. But let's sit up here a minute anyway. What do you think?" "Fine with me," I said, looking off beyond the field at the rolling jungle and green-covered mountains that jutted into the sky. We were still sitting in the blind an hour later, our legs hanging off the platform, when I noticed movement in the field. I sucked in a shocked breath as I saw what it was. Leslie went very quiet and still beside me. It was a Majungasaurus crenatissimus. It was a beautifully savage specimen. It was bipedal, just like the CBs, but this one was in a whole other league. I'd seen one in all my years hunting at the park with Leslie. It was about as tall as a man, making it the biggest dinosaur in the hunting area. Its bulbous head was covered in little spikes around a prominent horn above its eyes. Its snout was stubby, and I knew from my research that it would kill its prey by biting down and holding on until it died, like a jungle cat. It had 2 little arms, much smaller in proportion than those of a T-Rex, that I had to look through my scope to see. The Majungasaurus walked on 2 thick, tri-toed legs to the CB I'd shot. It pushed the dead dinosaur with its nose, and then looked around to see if it had any competition. Then it tentatively bit at the meat. "That's the only dinosaur with cannibalistic tendencies," Leslie whispered beside me. I looked over at him with raised eyebrows, even though I already knew this bit of trivia. "It will eat its own kind, given the chance," Leslie continued, shaking his head. "It's that kind of thing that really makes you sad, you know?" I nodded, obliging him. I knew he was gearing up for one of his little speeches. It was my duty as his employee to listen and nod, and be in awe of his wisdom. But instead of continuing his thought, he seemed to change gears. "So," he said, "how's everything going, Martin?" I looked at him for a second, a little surprised to hear him use my first name. He usually called people by their last names. Good," I said. "How about you?" "Fine," he said. "I just want to ask you a question. One question." I found that I was sweating even more than the tropical heat warranted. "Sure," I said. "Of course." "Why did you feel you couldn't come to me?" I tensed, bringing my rifle barrel up toward him. But he already had his pointing near me. He just lifted it up, the big bore staring at my chest, and shook his head. "You didn't reload after your shot," he said. I put the rifle aside and answered my question. "Why didn't you come to me if you needed money?" I put the rifle aside with shaking hands, pushing it behind me along the wood platform. I don't know what you're... "I think it's because you didn't need the money," he said, cutting me off. "I pay you well enough, but you saw an opportunity to skim even more from me, didn't you? And it was too much of a temptation for your tiny little brain to resist, wasn't it? You did it because you could, not because you actually needed the money. Isn't that right?" I opened my mouth to speak, thinking about where I'd gone wrong. I'd been so careful. Little bits taken over a long period. I didn't think anyone would ever find out. Of course I didn't. Would criminals commit crimes if they thought they'd be caught? "You can't find the words," Leslie said. "That's okay. I already know the answers." Leslie brought his legs up from the edge of the platform and got them under him. Still pointing his rifle at me with his right hand, he stood up and told me not to move. I looked off into the field at the Majangosaurus eating the dead CB. Suddenly, the sight of it made me sick, even though I couldn't see the gory details. Leslie waved something in front of my face, a square device of some kind. Just a quick movement, there and then gone. I turned my head up to look at him. "What?" "Don't talk," he said. "Better if you just stay silent. Now turn back. Look at that magnificent dinosaur over there." He reached down and took the radio off my belt. "I bet you thought DeRoy would be the one doing my dirty work, right?" Leslie said from behind me. "But some things you've just got to do yourself." I went to turn around again, but he told me to stop. "Go on," he said. "Look at the dinosaur. Focus on it." I looked. Leslie stepped behind me and kicked me in the back. The wood crossbeam broke easily, and suddenly I was falling. I managed to keep my legs under me, but as I hit the ground, my right leg snapped under the weight of my body. I tried to scream, but the wind had been knocked out of me as I crumpled to the jungle floor. Once I managed to suck in a breath, and then another and another. I tried to move. I sat up and bent my right knee, but the tremendous pain was otherworldly. This time I did scream out. I looked up at the blind, but couldn't see Leslie any longer. Then I heard movement on the other side of the tree, where the ladder was, and I called out to him. "Please, Michael, I'll give you the money back, every penny. Just please, help me. It hurts so bad." There was no answer, except for the sound of footsteps growing fainter as they moved away from me. I dragged myself toward the tree with my hands, gritting my teeth as I did. There was a reddening bulge under my pants, just below the knee, but I tried not to look at it. I knew it was a compound fracture, the bone of my lower leg sticking out of my skin. I felt sick as I leaned back against the tree, covered in a chill sweat. I brought out my phone and unlocked it. I had no signal. Something sounded off in the jungle, and I looked up toward the clearing. The Majangosaurus stood there, about 15 yards in front of me, looking at me with its reptilian eyes. I reached up and fingered my necklace, breathing a sigh of relief that it was still there. But then I remembered that little object that Leslie had passed in front of me just before he kicked me off the blind. Could it have been? The dinosaur took 2 steps closer, He was curious. "No," I said. "No, get away." It moved quickly. 3 more steps, bringing it to me. It looked huge above me, its teeth visible in its barely open mouth. They were covered in blood from the CB. "No!" I screamed, putting my hands up as the dinosaur opened its stubby jaws to bite me. The feeling of the teeth piercing my skin and shattering the bones in both my forearms sent me over the edge of sanity. Everything became a blur of pain, and I fainted. When I regained consciousness, the Majungasaurus was gone. My hands were deformed, and both my arms were broken just behind the wrists. The only things holding my hands to my arms were little bits of skin and muscle. The dinosaur's bite had otherwise shredded the limbs. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you." Only when I'd spoken the words did I realize that there was another dinosaur in front of me. A little CB. Walking slowly, I said. The only things when I regained consciousness, seeing my skin and shatter covered in blood from the CB. "No!" I screamed, putting my hands up as the dinosaur opened its stubby jaws to bite me. The feeling of the teeth piercing my skin and shattering the bones in both my forearms sent me over the edge of sanity. Everything became a blur of pain, and I fainted. When I regained consciousness, the Majungasaurus was gone. My hands were deformed, and both my arms were broken just behind the wrists. The only things holding my hands to my arms were little bits of skin and muscle. The dinosaur's bite had otherwise shredded the limbs. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you." Only when I'd spoken the words did I realize that there was another dinosaur in front of me. A little CB, walking slowly toward me. No, it wasn't just one. I looked around with tear-filled eyes to see that there were many of them, a dozen or more. They'd saved me. "Thank you," I said again. The one closest to me darted forward and grabbed a finger on my left hand in its mouth. I screamed, and the dog-sized dinosaur dropped it. I looked down at the finger to see that it had nearly cut all the way through it. I looked back up at the spooked dinosaur and could see the serrated edges of its teeth. Now more than 20 pairs of eyes were looking at me from all sides. The CB stood tense, ready to pounce. "No," I said. "Please, no." The one who'd snagged my finger moved forward, and the rest of them moved in at once. They crowded in, their sharp teeth tearing my skin and muscle off, little bits at a time, while I screamed, and screamed, and screamed.
I tried everything for my stubborn dandruff, and then I found Nizoral. It works differently to get to the root cause of dandruff. Its active ingredient is 10 times more effective at fighting fungus, the primary cause of dandruff. Say goodbye to stubborn dandruff with Nizoral, now available in a shampoo plus conditioner.
And screamed, and screamed. Also, it turns out that most of you guys who watch me aren't actually subscribed. So if you like the content and want to support the channel, go ahead and hit the bell. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. Story 2. Nowhere's safe. Booming footsteps shook the ground like miniature earthquakes, growing more powerful as they approached. People were screaming and running all around me. The park was in chaos, but I couldn't help everyone. And the people I was trying to help weren't listening. "Get out of the tunnel!" I shouted for the 5th time. A couple of people nearby looked at me, the terror on their faces momentarily fading as they recognized my uniform. They seemed to realize that I knew what I was talking about, and they moved out of the tunnel quickly, taking their chances in the flow of running bodies down the avenue behind me. "Move! Get out of the tunnel! You have to get out!" I shouted again. 4 more people heeded my advice, running out from the shade and into the bright sunlight. But there were still a good 100 people inside the concrete tunnel, underneath a road that only employee vehicles used. I stepped back from the tunnel entrance and looked up to see the massive Dreadnoughtus lumbering forward on its 4 legs, its head twisting around at the end of its long neck to look behind it. A pack of Maposaurus dinosaurs were chasing the large sauropod, clearly intent on taking the much larger creature down for lunch. The tunnel would never hold the massive dinosaur's weight. and it was getting closer. I had no idea how the security protocols and fail-safes had all failed, but there wasn't anything I could do about it anyway. I was a tour guide, and things like security protocols were above my pay grade. But as a park employee and a human being, I had an obligation to try to save as many of these people as I could. But they couldn't hear me, or they wouldn't. I screamed at the people hiding in the tunnel one more time, and was happy to see that a group of about 10 heeded my call and ran out. I backed away, nearly getting knocked down by a man running past behind me. Then I stood there and watched as the skyscraper-tall, 60-ton Dreadnoughtus brought its elephant-like front legs down just above the tunnel, which collapsed under the weight of the massive creature, instantly killing those who had not escaped. The pack of 5 Maposaurus carnivores caught up to the huge herbivore as it tried to get its front legs out of the wreckage of the tunnel. The Maposauruses were similar to Tyrannosaurus rex dinosaurs, but significantly bigger, and some would say smarter, since they hunted in packs. 4 of them began attacking the huge sauropod, taking car-sized chunks out of its neck and back with their powerful jaws. The 5th turned its attention off the raised and fenced-in roadway, looking down at the terrified people running around. I stared up at it as the dinosaur's eyes swept over me, its cold intelligence startling me out of shock. I turned to run in the general direction of the underground bunkers that had been built, just in case any of the dinosaurs got loose in the park. These bunkers were a good mile away from where I was, on the other side of the large park. I heard a crunching sound and looked over my shoulder to see that the 5th Maposaurus had stepped down off the raised roadway, crushing a cotton candy cart with one foot. "Bandy!" a voice called out. I whipped my head around and saw one of my co-workers, Robert, sitting on a wooden bench and holding his bloody left ankle. "Bob?" I said, helping him up from the bench. "What happened?" "What do you think?" he said, leaning on me so I could help him walk. "I got attacked by a Utah raptor." I had to resist the urge to stop right there in the middle of the walkway. "Good God! Those are loose too?" "Everything's loose," he said, "or will be soon." I looked behind me and saw the Maposaurus chasing a woman down the path toward us. "We need to move!" Bob and I picked up the pace, but his injured ankle was slowing us down. Up ahead was the door to a burger restaurant. I figured we could make it in there and wait until the Maposaurus went past. The woman behind us screamed as she ran, and the dinosaur's feet made the ground shake as it ran after her. "In here!" I said, ducking away from Bob to open the door to the restaurant. The dinosaur was close, but I didn't dare look. I pulled the door open and stood aside to let Bob in, but it was too late. The Maposaurus lunged toward us. Bob tried to jump through the door, but the massive teeth caught hold of his arm. I reached out and grabbed Bob's other arm and found myself in a tug-of-war with a huge carnivorous dinosaur. My feet came off the ground as I held onto Bob's arm. He was screaming, looking down at me. Then the Maposaurus let go, and we both fell to the ground. The impact knocked my breath out, but I scrambled up, knowing it wasn't done with us. That was when I saw that the dinosaur hadn't dropped us. It had bitten through Bob's arm. His stump poured blood onto the concrete walkway. I sensed movement behind me and dove out of the way as the creature's huge jaws came down, crunching into Bob's body as it lifted him back into the air to finish the job. Screw seeking shelter in the burger joint. I needed to get to the bunkers. They were the only true safe place in the park now, so I ran as fast as I could get away as the Maposaurus chomped on my coworker. There were still people running in every direction, many of them looking for their loved ones. Still others were just trying to find the way out of the maze-like park. Even when there weren't bloodthirsty dinosaurs killing people, park guests had to consult a map to find the nearest bathroom, much less the main entrance and exit. Once the Maposaurus was out of sight behind me, I started gathering people to me, telling the ones that would listen that I was headed to the bunkers. By the time I'd gone a little over a quarter of a mile, I'd gathered 7 people with me, 4 adults and 3 children. The main thoroughfare we were on was lined on either side with amusement park rides between gift shops, restaurants, arcades, and vendors of all types. All the rides were dinosaur-themed, and some of them were even designed to go through certain of the more safe dinosaur habitats. But for the most part, these rides and shops were where people came after visiting the other side of the park, where the main dinosaur attractions were. So as we moved through the chaos, I prayed that the dinosaurs I'd seen so far were a fluke, and that if the rest of them were loose, they would stay on the other side of the huge park.
Like most California dairy farmers, I'm finding creative ways to tackle climate change. It all starts with what we feed the cows.
Food scraps from local bakeries and farms would have gone straight to the landfill, but here it's healthy feed for cows.
And then the milking.
Today's dairies use significantly less water to produce a glass of milk.
And when cows poop,
this methane digester traps greenhouse gases and provides clean energy back to the grid.
Some folks talk about fighting climate change. We're getting it done.
Spellsetter, the time saver. 90 seconds and you're done. Easy in, easy out. Hold it with perfection. Easy clean.
They would stay on the other side of the huge park. But soon enough, the rumbling vibrations I felt through my feet told me we weren't so lucky. I turned around and looked behind our group just in time to see a 6-ton Triceratops galloping down the roadway toward us. I couldn't see what it was running from, but it didn't really matter. The beast was moving fast. Even as I watched, it trampled a young man who tripped, trying to get out of its way. "Move! Go in there!" I yelled, pointing into a nearby gift shop. My group shuffled into the shop as the Triceratops stomped past. "It was running from something," I said to my group as I made my way through them, deeper into the store. "Let's wait in here for a minute to see what—" "Don't come any closer," a man I'd never seen before said. He was standing behind a nearby teller counter, rummaging through the cash register with one hand. He had a knife in his other hand, pointing the tip of the blade at me. I put my hands up to show I wasn't a threat. "We need to stay in here for a minute," I said. "We won't interfere with you. I'm a park employee, sure, but some petty thievery is the least of my concerns." "Petty?" the man said, clearly scared and angry. "You think I'm petty?" "No, that's not what—" "You!" he shouted. "You charge $200 just to get into this place, then you overcharge for everything. I'm taking some of my money back from you rich bastards." "Fine," I said. "That's fine. Just take it and go." I looked over to my left at the other side of the store. I thought I'd seen some movement from there. Another pair of open doors was over there, leading out onto a walkway, parallel to the one we'd come in from. Maybe someone had ducked into the store from over there. If so, I couldn't see them now. The man momentarily returned his attention to the cash register, digging out for more money. I took the opportunity to signal my little group out of the store. I figured whatever had the Triceratops spooked would have already gone past by now, and this guy seemed a little unhinged. I saw him as the bigger, immediate threat. They started moving back to the door, but this caught the man's attention. He snapped his head back and looked with wide, unfocused eyes at the group. "What are you doing?" he shouted. "We're leaving," I said. "You can stay here and do your thing, but we're leaving." "You're going to get security, aren't you?" he said, coming around the counter toward me. I backed away from the knife, right into a rack of t-shirts. He pressed the tip of the knife into the little divot at the base of my neck. "I think security's a little busy right now," I said. This seemed only to make him angrier, and I felt the tip of the knife pierce my skin. Then one of the children in our group, a little girl, screamed. Movement flashed on my left, and both the robber and I turned to look just as the Utahraptor pounced. The lightly feathered raptor slammed into the robber with its claws on his chest and its open jaw on his head. I stumbled back, knocking the shirt rack down in my shock, just as the Utahraptor used its powerful jaws to collapse the man's skull, the sound like a cracking walnut shell. My group ran out of the store, and I followed, sure that where there was one Utahraptor, there would be more. The one in the store looked to be a juvenile, only standing about 6 feet tall and probably weighing just under 1,000 pounds. I reached up and felt my neck as we ran, but only found a little bit of blood. The knife hadn't cut me very badly. We ran hard toward the bunker entrance, picking up more people on the way. When we finally reached the entrance, there were 24 of us. It was located amid the faculty buildings, and I figured many staff members were already inside. I swiped my employee keycard and entered the code. The metal door unlocked and swung open. I looked down the concrete steps and found them empty. Thinking it safe, I held the door open, ushering everyone else inside to make sure there were no stragglers. When everyone was inside, I looked around and decided that I would recoup inside and then head back out to find more people. As soon as I stepped around the open door, screaming erupted from inside. I looked down the concrete steps, seeing 3 Utah raptors tearing through many of the people I'd just saved. They used their teeth and claws to incapacitate them. Blood sprayed everywhere as I stood there, shocked. How had they gotten in? How long had they been down there? Was nowhere safe? A 4th Utah raptor appeared and lunged over its companions toward the 5 uninjured people who were scrambling up the stairs. The raptor was moving fast. The people would never make it. But if I left the door open, I would surely be killed, and the raptors would continue their killing spree. The people rushing up the stairs screamed at me as I swung the door shut. Their eyes didn't show anger, only shock and dismay at the betrayal. I shut the door just as the raptor was leaping toward them, claws and teeth ready to grind flesh. I put in my code and listened as the door locked. The screams inside were muffled, but that didn't make them any easier to hear. Feeling sick to my stomach, I turned away from the door and came face to face with the Utah raptor. It seemed to smile at me, showing its razor-sharp teeth just before its jaws opened to crush my head.
More rewards, more savings, more special offers. That's what new Fuel Rewards members get at Shell. Join to save 10 cents per gallon on your first fill, 20 cents per gallon on the second, and 30 cents per gallon on the third. Join today.
Jesse, Royal Kingdom's finally out. I've been waiting for this game forever. What are you even saying? Eric, would you please stop parking on my lawn?
Dude, Royal Kingdom. It's a brand new puzzle game that just came out, and guess what? No ads.
They actually make games with no ads?
Insane, right? Don't worry, already downloaded it for you.
Dude, how'd you get my phone?
I also have your keys and your wallet. Took a 20.
How'd you get my phone?
I don't actually know. I feel like you left it last time you were over. Don't worry about it. I have people. Download Royal Kingdom
and join us today.
Story 3. Earthquake. You stabbed me! The words sound strange to my ears. I sound like a child, accusing my brother of stealing a toy. You stabbed me! The familiar face, one I know almost as well as I know my own, looks back at me with no hint of remorse or regret. In a park full of vicious dinosaurs, and I'm dying because my own brother stabbed me. Out of nowhere. For no reason. He pulls the blade out of my stomach, and we both look down to watch the blood pour out of me. To my right, a woman screams. I wonder briefly whether it's because she's just seen me get stabbed, or because the ancient predators have finally gotten inside. Either way, I can't seem to bring myself to care. It's getting dark. What should we do? My brother Felix asks. I don't know, I say. We should keep moving though. Find shelter somewhere. There's no telling what the earthquake did to this place's security functions. Hopefully, they had some fail-safes in place, but that felt like one hell of an earthquake. It's just our luck that when we finally save up enough money to come to the park, there's a f***ing earthquake. We'd spared no expense when it came to enjoying the park. We booked all the most unique and expensive features they offered. We didn't just want to spend time with the crowds. We wanted a truly intimate experience at the park, which was why we were in a Jeep with just one other person, the driver, when the earthquake struck. We were roaming around where lots of the herbivores were, seeing them without fences in the way. We'd had to sign like 100 waivers to do it, but it was absolutely worth it. We just finished watching a couple of Argentinosauruses feeding at some trees, and were heading off to find more dinosaurs when the ground began to shake. This spooked several nearby Stegosauruses, causing them to run in front of our Jeep. The driver swerved to miss them. He was just getting the vehicle under control and back on the road when a tree collapsed because of the earthquake. He slammed the brakes, but we still hit the tree hard. Luckily, Felix and I had been wearing our seatbelts. For some reason, the driver hadn't. He hit his head on the windshield. He was alive but unconscious by the time the earthquake ended. We were unable to wake him up, and we didn't want to risk moving him. We tried his phone, but it was locked, and we couldn't wake him up to get the PIN number. Both Felix and I tried calling the main park phone numbers, but we could never get through to anyone. Since the Jeep was undrivable, We decided to walk to find help for the man. The only map in the Jeep was one of those illustrated cartoon maps, one in which there's no scale key. Plus, the map focuses more on the main tourist areas of the park. Where we were wasn't drawn in much detail at all. So the only thing we could think to do was head back the way we'd come, even though it was a good 10 miles back to the main park. Now the sun is going down. We've seen no one come along the road in the 2 hours we've been walking. It's a bad sign. It can't be much further, I say. Let's just hope we're headed towards safety rather than away from it. Yeah, Felix says softly. Hey, it's gonna be all right, okay? I say. Felix looks at me in the fading twilight and puts on a brave face. I know. At 22, he's 4 years younger than me, and he's always been prone to anxiety and nervousness. I can tell that this whole ordeal is wearing on him. He already has a haggard look, as if his inner anxiety is showing through. I nod at him and pull out my phone, turning the flashlight feature on as we continue up the road. Pretty soon, it's fully dark, and the only light comes from our phones. I look around for the moon, but I don't recall what kind of moon it is. For all I know, it could be a new moon, which would just add to our luck. We come to a crossroads with another dirt road, stopping to gaze left and right. Did we turn on this road? I ask Felix. Do you remember? He's silent for a moment, thinking. I don't remember, he says. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we crossed over it. I think a scuffling sound on the road to our left freezes me in mid-sentence. Did you hear that? I whisper, shining my light down the road and seeing nothing. Yes. Stop shining your lights over here. A voice booms out from somewhere in the jungle. Who are you? I shout out. A man and a woman step out from the foliage bordering the dirt road, their hands up to keep my light from blinding them. Well, we're not dinosaurs, so there's that, the man says. He's carrying a sleek pump shotgun, and he's dressed in a khaki getup similar to our driver's. I breathe a sigh of relief. He's a park employee, and he's armed. He's got a weather-beaten look that I associate with cowboy types. He looks like he knows what he's doing. The woman is a middle-aged blonde, wearing jeans and a light plaid shirt over a tank top. She must be a park guest, just like us. I shine my flashlight at the ground as they approach. My name's Derek, and this is Felix, I say. The man says his name is Corey. The woman introduces herself as Madison. Can you help us with our driver? Felix asks. He was injured when we crashed. We didn't want to move him until we found help. Where is he? Corey asks. I point back down the road, probably 5 miles or so that way. Before I even finish the sentence, Corey is shaking his head. He's probably dead by now. What? Why did you say that? Felix asks. Because the earthquake let a ton of dinosaurs out, Madison interrupts, her voice a mixture of fear and anger. Like the bad ones? Felix asks. Yes, Corey says. The bad ones. It's a miracle we're all still alive. So we need to keep moving. There's a faculty building up this road a couple of miles. We need to get there and hunker down until help comes. How bad is it? I ask. How many do you think are already dead? Impossible to say, Corey answers, shaking his head. We weren't near the worst of it, but I was on the phone with the control room just after it happened. And before I lost contact with them, well, let's just say what they told me doesn't inspire confidence. So let's go. And turn that light out. You'll only attract predators to us. Corey and Madison take the lead, while Felix and I follow. I turn my flashlight off, but keep my phone in my hand, just in case. We walk in silence, listening to the sounds of the surrounding jungle and our footfalls on the packed dirt road. The moon rises as we walk, providing enough light to see by, despite the unbroken cloud cover sliding above us in the sky. The smell of foliage and damp earth is pungent, but there's another smell, too. An animal smell. Suddenly, Corey stops and levels his shotgun at the jungle to our right. What is it? Felix asks. Shh, Corey says.
Come on into Baymont. We'll be greeted with a warm welcome, get a cozy room to rest up in, then grab a free hot breakfast before seeing some old friends. Enjoy our hometown hospitality at Baymont, a trusted brand by Wyndham.
Knock, knock. Hi there. I'd love to show you what a K-12 powered school is really like. Step inside. Here you can dive into subjects you love. Move as fast or as slow as you need to, and let your learning soar. You'll connect with teachers and classmates, explore your interests, and learn great skills for the future. Hey, know what else is knocking? Opportunity. Discover yours. Now enrolling.
Corey says. We all stare into the lush greenery bordering the road. Corey lowers his gun and gestures for us to move on. Thought I heard something, he says. Not even 5 minutes pass when I hear something big rustling in the jungle. To the right again. Corey stops and points his gun again. Shine a light over there, he says. I shine light at the spot in the jungle, seeing a pair of eyes reflecting yellow light back at me just before they vanish, leaving behind only a swaying leaf. We need to move, Corey says. Fast! Why? Madison asks. What was that? It didn't look very big. The eyes were so low to the ground. Lady, size isn't the only thing you need to worry about, Corey says. We're being stalked. And that ain't good, no matter what kind of dinosaur it is. What kind is it? Felix says, his voice shaking. I don't know, Corey says. I can't tell just from the eyes. Let's just move, double time. He turns and starts jogging up the road, and we all do the same. As we run, I can hear more rustling in the trees to our right, as though whatever dinosaur is in there is running along, keeping up with us. I know the others hear it too because it's pretty loud, even over the sound of our shoes scraping dirt and our hissing breath. I glance to my left at Felix and can tell by the look on his face that he's not doing well with this. I want to say something that will make him feel better, but anything I could tell him would be a lie, or very wishful thinking. I expect whatever is in the jungle to lurch out at us any moment, but it doesn't. And pretty soon, I see the jungle on both sides of the road ends. There's a field of short grass up ahead, which leads up to a small hill. On the top of that hill sits a 2-story concrete bunker, about the size of an upper-middle-class home. It's maybe a quarter mile past the end of the jungle. I reach out and hit Felix on the shoulder. He's staring past me at the jungle, but I direct his attention toward the bunker. He sees it and smiles weakly. We're almost there, I say. The end of the jungle isn't far now, maybe 30 yards. But I suddenly realize that there's no more rustling coming from the jungle. Maybe whatever it is has given up. Corey comes to a fast stop and levels his shotgun straight ahead. We all stop behind him, but I can't see what he's pointing at. I step around him to see a cluster of 6 dinosaurs in a wedge formation on the road. They stand on 2 long legs, and they have longish arms with 3 savage claws at the end of them. They have slender snouts and mainly front-facing eyes. Standing about the height of a large dog, they look at us with unmistakable intelligence. I don't know what kind of dinosaurs they are, but they look like smaller, more agile raptors with longer arms and legs. The animal smell is now sharp, and I realize it's coming from them. It smells almost like a large snake's terrarium, but more acrid. The lead one makes a strange clicking, snorting sound, opening its mouth to reveal rows of small, sharp teeth. The others spread out on the road and move toward us. Corey fires the shotgun, hitting the leader in the face, killing it. The other 5 attack, moving fast on their long legs. 2 of them converge on Corey and another 2 on Madison. The 5th one jumps at Felix, but I shove him out of the way and it goes flying past. Corey is now on the ground, and one of the dinosaurs has him by his left foot, and it's trying to drag him toward the jungle. The other one lunges at Corey from the side, and he hits it in the head with the butt of the shotgun. Then he reloads by pulling the forestock back and forth. He aims the gun at the dinosaur biting his foot and then fires, blowing the dinosaur's head apart, but destroying his own foot in the process. Madison screams as the 2 dinosaurs tear at her flesh, dragging her toward the jungle. I tell Felix to run because it's the only thing I can think to do. He does, scrambling toward the bunker at the top of the hill. The dinosaur that had missed Felix recovers and sets its sights on me. It lunges at me, but I duck out of the way at the last second. Still, I'm not fast enough. Its forepaws drag across my upper chest and shoulder, ripping 3 gashes in my shirt and the skin below. I turn and scramble toward Corey, whose face is now being torn off by the dinosaur he hit with the butt of the shotgun. I see the weapon lying on the road nearby and duck to scoop it up. Corey makes a terrible screaming, gurgling sound and thrashes about while the predator drags its sharp teeth across his face again and again, gnawing at him. I look over to see Madison's head and arms disappear into the jungle. She's no longer screaming, and I see that her throat has been torn out. I pump the shotgun, loading a new shell, then look around for the one that just attacked me. It's not here. Felix screams and I whip my head that way, seeing him face down in the road, the dinosaur on his back biting him. Leaving Corey to his fate, I run up the road as fast as I can, then blast the dinosaur on his side, sending it flying off my brother. Felix has been bitten several times, twice on his upper back and once on his upper right arm. Get up, I say, reaching down to help him. Can you move? He gets up, breathing heavily, tears streaming down his face. I put his left arm around my shoulders, and we both run as fast as we can up to the bunker. The door opens just as we reach it. A woman in her 20s wearing a park uniform ushers us inside. I heard the shots, she says. I'm sorry I didn't come to help. I don't have a gun. Do you have a first aid kit? I ask, standing just inside the doorway, while the woman closes and locks the big metal door. Yes, she says. Come with me. We move into the bunker, which is all concrete walls and floors. There are supply cabinets and power junctions and shelves filled with random odds and ends. Here, the woman says, gesturing at a cot set up in the corner beside some metal shelves. I put Felix face first on the cot so we can dress his wounds. Oh, it hurts, Derek, my brother says, now crying. It hurts. We're going to get you taken care of, okay? We'll get you something for the pain. I set the shotgun on a nearby shelf so I can use both my hands. The woman disappears and then comes back with a first aid kit. She hands me a knife and tells me to cut Felix's shirt off. I do, carefully cutting it up the back and then spreading it out so we can see the wounds. I set the knife down on the floor next to the cot to get it out of the way. The wounds are somewhere between minor and serious. The teeth marks are plain to see, even through the blood.
California is making nutritious school meals available to every student, and our local ranches and dairies are an important first step.
Nothing makes me prouder than bringing healthy, locally raised beef to California students.
We are producing high-quality milk for local schools.
We use local beef and milk to create healthy and exciting recipes for our kids.
We cook fresh meals from scratch every day. What is our favorite?
We see the difference in our students. They're engaged and ready to learn.
California ranches and dairies, stepping up for our students.
Blood. The woman disinfects the wounds while I wipe away the blood. Then she bandages them up as best she can and then gives them some Tylenol. Soon enough, Felix is passed out and I'm feeling exhausted. I carry the shotgun with me to a back room where there's a card table set up with several chairs. We use this place for breaks sometimes, the woman, whose name is Ivy, tells me. We both sit at the table and discuss the day's events while she cleans my minor wounds. She says she hasn't been in contact with anyone since the earthquake, so the thing to do is stay here and wait for help to come to the island. She asks what happened with all the gunshots earlier, but I can't bring myself to relive that chaos just yet. So I say I'll tell her everything after I get some sleep. I head back to Felix and sit against the wall next to his cot, shotgun cradled in my lap. I lean my head back against the wall and let sleep take me. My dreams are filled with dinosaurs of all kinds, banging at the door to the bunker, trying to get in, to finish the job. My brother is awake in the dream, and he keeps telling the dinosaurs to get away from him. He says it over and over again, softly at first, but then rising in pitch and fervor. A terrible pain yanks me from sleep and into reality. I open my eyes to see Felix leaning over me. Get away from me, he says, tears streaming out of his eyes. I look down to see that he stabbed me in the stomach with the knife I used to cut his shirt. You stabbed me, I say. Then I say it again, as if testing the words for validity. I look into my brother's eyes and see no remorse, no regret. In fact, I see no recognition either. The person looking back at me doesn't seem to be my brother. Felix pulls the blade out of me, and we both watch the blood pour out of the wound. Ivy screams nearby, and I wonder if the dinosaurs from my dream have gotten into the bunker. My thoughts are still all jumbled up, and the sense of unreality is persistent.
Yeah.
Why? I ask Felix. He stands up and looks around, as if recognizing where he is for the first time. He looks at the bloody knife in his hand, and at the expanding circle of blood soaking my shirt and pants. His eyes go wide. Ivy steps up behind him and hits him in the head with a small spade. Felix stumbles and drops the knife, but he doesn't go down.
No, Ivy!
I say, although I don't know why. I just know that my brother would never knowingly try to kill me. Felix sits down hard on the cot and puts both hands to his head. Then he falls over, passing out. What kind of dinosaur bit him? Ivy asks, eyes wide, and spade still held up as if she'll need to use it again. What? I say, I don't know. Damn it, she says, and then runs to get the first aid kit again. She does what she can with my stab wound, which isn't much, and while she works, I tell her about the dinosaurs that attacked us. It helps keep my mind off the pain. When I'm all done, she nods gravely. Troodons, she says. I wish you'd told me this before you went to sleep. I could have kept you from getting stabbed. What? How? Troodons are poisonous. Their bite will cause you to hallucinate and act aggressively toward other people. Then, you'll eventually become paralyzed and die. They're also incredibly smart. But I'm guessing you already knew that, given the way they attacked you. Wait, there's no cure? My brother is definitely going to die? Is that what you're saying? Ivy nods. I look over her shoulder at Felix, who's still unconscious on the cot. What about me? I ask her. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I think we need to get you help because you're probably bleeding internally. I certainly don't feel good. I think getting stabbed is supposed to hurt. Ivy smiles, smiling wryly. If it made you feel good, we'd all go around stabbing each other all the time. I chuckle, then wince. Don't do that. Laughing hurts like a son of a bitch. She pauses, cocking her head. Do you hear that? I listen for a moment. Yeah, sounds like a helicopter. Ivy stands up and runs toward the front door. I call after her, but she doesn't hear me. Or maybe she does, and is too focused on getting outside to flag down the chopper. I wanted to tell her to take the shotgun. I hear the sound of the big metal door opening, and then I hear Ivy scream. She stops screaming in tandem with the sound of a body hitting the floor. I grab up the shotgun and make sure the safety is off. A familiar clicking, snorting sound echoes off the concrete walls. Then there's the sound of crunching and tearing flesh. I try to stand up, but the pain in my stomach is too great. Felix, wake up, I whisper. Felix, wake the hell up. He makes no movement. A Troodon emerges from around the shelf and I pull the trigger, blowing its head off. I reload the shotgun and aim it, waiting for another one to appear.
Come on, you bastards!
I shout. Another Troodon appears ahead of me. I pull the trigger. Nothing happens but a small click. Taking my eyes off the dinosaur, I look down at the gun to reload it. I'm out of shells. Son of a bitch. I look up to find the Troodon mere feet away from me, looking at me with its reptile grin. I throw the shotgun at it and reach over to grab the knife from where Felix had dropped it. There are now 3 of them, inching forward. The one I hit when I threw the shotgun quickly recovered and is looking at me again.
Come on, you bastards!
I yell again, slicing the knife through the air. The 3 of them look at each other, communicating somehow. Then they look back at me, and they all pounce at once. I jam the knife up under the lead one's jaw, then use its body as a kind of shield to keep the other ones from getting close enough to bite me. The lead one spasms, its claws raking my face and tearing my skin open as I hold it at arm's length. Gunshots sound in the bunker, and the rear 2 Troodons shriek as their blood splatters Felix, where he still lay on the cot. I throw the Trudon I'd speared off of me and look up to see a couple of commando-type guys in full gear looking down at me. "Let's go," one of them says, reaching his hand down to help me up. "Is there someone else here?" "You saw the woman on the way in?" I ask. He nods. "She's gone." "My brother," I say. "He's been bitten." One guy steps over Trudon corpses to lean down and touch Felix's neck, feeling for a pulse. After a few long moments, he shakes his head. "Just you. Let's go." I make my way out of the bunker, clutching my stomach and blinking the blood out of my eye from the cuts on my head. We get in a helicopter with some other commando guys and some bloodied survivors. The helicopter takes off, and we fly out toward the sea, then skirt the main park as we make our way around the island. I watch out the window as military jets scream over the massive park, dropping bombs and firing missiles at the dinosaurs there. The place is almost completely destroyed, with fires everywhere and explosions rocking the park. One of the commando guys sitting next to me leans forward and talks to his buddy. "Bringing dinosaurs back from the dead? Who would have thought that would be such a bad idea?" The two guys laugh. Then they see me glaring at them and stop. I think about all the waivers Felix and I had to sign before going on the private Jeep tour, and wonder how many people have died. Thousands, probably. I'm lucky to get out alive. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.
Guys, the new puzzle game Royal Kingdom just launched. I figured we're all going to be playing it a lot, so we're here to answer any questions. Yes, bedtime Jimmy. Is it a good way to relax and have fun? Sure is. Showtime Jimmy? Are there ads? No. Can you believe they make games with no ads? Flight Jimmy. Do I need Wi-Fi? Do I need Wi-Fi? Nope. Which means you can play anywhere. Just bought a pricey latte, Jimmy? Is it free? Yep. Not a single dime to download. Emotional, Jimmy. I'm just like so excited to download this game. Same. Cowboy Jimmy? Giddy up, partner. Okay, that covers it. So Royal Kingdom is relaxing. There's no ads, no Wi-Fi. It is free, and you can download it now. Yeehaw! Somebody. He's my emotional support cowboy. Giddy up, Toby!
Hey, so I want a new credit card to grow my credit. Now, Experian. Can't we find credit cards with no ding decline? Now, these cards won't ding my credit if I'm not approved.
No ding?
No ding.
No ding?
Get the free Experian app today.
it's coming along, slowly melting. Got it. Yeah, now I get to clean it up. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Ice, ice everywhere. Ice, ice, baby. Boom, 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 boom. All right. In case you're wondering, I still got a freezer full of ice that won't come out. Yeah, that's pretty damn solid. Ugh. Ooh, it's icky warm. I think I need a shower.
Come in and lick it.
It's supposed to be hot.
Try that. Fine. Oh. Okay. Come here. Come here. Oh, babe. Oh, I got you. He's away. He's away.
Oh, you're so cute. You're mine.
I think the cat distribution system has finally found me.
Oh my god. We have to take them.
Don't mess with cats, man. Say what?
Nobody likes a cracked windshield.
What was that?
No. But you can go to SafeLight.com and get it fixed now and pay later. Awesome. SafeLight can come to you for free. Don't wait. Get it fixed now and pay later at SafeLight.com.
SafeLight repair, SafeLight replace.
just north of Mount Chiliad lies the town of Paleto Bay. It's a relatively small town, but unlike its next-door neighbor, Sandy Shores, Paleto seems to be doing just fine. But how? Paleto Bay is smaller than Sandy and further south. Well, as explained in the Sandy Shores video, Paleto Bay has a major factory, the Cluckingville factory, which most of the residents probably work at. There are also numerous shops in the small town of Paleto, including a barber shop, a tattoo shop, a mechanic shop, and a gun store. Also, there seem to have been plans to build a car dealership next to the mechanic shop, but it was never completed. We know this was fully intentional by Rockstar, as it says on the billboard that it was supposed to come in 2008, but the game at the time of release took place in 2013. So why was this dealership never completed?
What's good, YouTube fam? It's your girl, Asia.
It's your boy, BJ, and we back like we never left. Now, like in my past life, babe, I promise you, you know, like we didn't did everything as far as like working in different types of like finance, banking. We didn't did everything, babe. But the one thing that I always wanted to do as like a side gig was be a wedding singer. I really, really feel like, babe, like I really could do some special things being a wedding singer, and just really, really like, you know, as far as like holy matrimony, like I can really like help bring all those things together like really, really well during a wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For real.
You
And you want to hear?
You might be right.
And you want to hear? I've been working on my wedding singer voice too. Want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Where the microphone at? Can you pass her the mic? That's the mic.
Okay.
This is the mic.
Okay.
If this world was mine.
Nope.
Wait, you gotta put the words on the screen so I can read. Babe, you didn't put the words up on the screen.
I didn't know what you was about to do.
I'm about to sing Luther Vandross. If this world was mine.
Go ahead. You don't need the words. How you gonna sing a song? You know, wedding singers know the words.
Don't worry about it. Y'all, we're about to be checking out the wedding singer tonight. This is...
You can always sing Ariana Grande. You know the words to that.
I'm not gonna sing that. I'm not gonna sing that. And hey, look who's in the movie, babe.
Oh gosh, Adam.
Yes.
Adam Sandler.
So Adam Sandler is in this movie.
I'm excited.
We watched a lot of his movies so far up until this point, like Little Nicky, Happy Gilmore. They're actually going to come out with another Happy Gilmore too real soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been one of those movies that you guys have requested, recommended. Hey, I'm ready for it, babe. I think you're ready for it too.
Yeah, I am. This will be my first time watching this movie, but it's been a long time coming. I know this movie has been recommended for us to watch like plenty of times at this point. So I'm excited to watch it. Everything that we watched of Adam Sandler so far has been delightful, to say the least. Just because he's so, oh God, what? Like,
go ahead, keep doing what you're doing. I'm trying to get in my mode.
Okay. I'm gonna let you have the floor. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you got it. You got it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and do your thing so we can get into the reaction.
Well, I was done. I just saw you pick up your microphone because you was ready to start singing.
I'll save it for the end.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're new here, make sure you like and comment, subscribe, smash that notification bell so you don't miss any videos from Asia and BJ. Tap into our Patreon and check out all of our unedited, uncut videos, behind the scenes footage, Patreon polls, and access to all of our TV series as well. All over on Patreon, y'all. It is a great time, and it's absolutely free to sign up and become a member. So make sure you are tapped in so you don't miss out on any other fun stuff, okay? All of that to say...
Yeah, we are ready for the craziness of Adam Sandler.
I thought you was about to start singing for real.
I gave y'all just like a little bit. You know what I mean? I just gave y'all a little bit. So if anybody... We'll get to it at the end. We'll get to it at the end.
We wanted to hear it now. You came out with it, so how you just gonna stop in the middle? This is probably the point where everybody's still watching.
I'm still a little rusty. That's gonna be the thing about me being a wedding singer. You're gonna have to put the words on the screen for me to sing.
Well, look, y'all. I kind of halfway believe him
I don't
because
do all the memorizing songs.
if y'all ever watched our vlogs or anything like that and watch BJ do karaoke, he's entertaining. Okay, y'all gotta go over there
I'll be doing my thing.
and watch BJ perform.
But if anybody gonna ask me to sing a song and I actually have to memorize all the words, I'm not gonna get it. I'm gonna mess up somewhere.
Somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just being honest.
Yeah, well, we always mess up. Okay, doing karaoke,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, but.
That's a fact.
Alrighty, well, here we are. I want some.
Yeah.
Why you always trying to keep the candy all over there on your side, all in the corner and everything?
That's where it's staying.
So can't nobody see it.
So-
Y'all, I didn't even know he had skittles over there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to protect you from getting more cavities. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm trying to help you from getting cavities.
You trying to help me, but you got the whole bag.
That's what I'm saying.
Alright, y'all. Here we go.
This is Buick, now. Buick, exceptional by design.
Get 0.9% APR on these 2025 Buick models. Plus, current eligible non-GM owners get up to $3,000 allowance on Encore GX.
Daji is not only teammate, he's my brother. And I'm very happy for his success. He is at least top 5 lightweight in the world. I understand how this business works. I understand why people pay for watching fight. We have to finish, guys.
The creativity, I think, makes me very hard to game plan for.
Alfie does stuff that's so unorthodox. Like,
The Wedding Singer. 3 and 2 and 1 and play.
Oh my goodness. Look at this girl.
Boy, that look like a fun wedding. Oh.
Is this a Greek wedding?
I don't know. What if that's really him singing? You know, like
That's him singing.
Okay, I'm like, I feel like he can. I thought I heard him sing before. He can kind of sing.
Kinda, yeah. That's him singing.
Okay, okay. Oh yeah, it's heating up.
This wedding getting out of control.
He done took the shirt off and everything.
Got his own band and everything.
That's how you rip the floor.
Yeah, the best man's gonna come up here and say a few words, so put our hands together for the groom's brother, David.
1985.
Cut a rug.
My brother, Harold, asked me to be the best man at his wedding. I was like, oh, of course, man. Because you've always been there for me. Like when I was in rehab.
Babe, look at the shirt.
Harold would never beat up his landlord.
Oh, he toasted.
That shirt is hideous.
That time in Puerto Rico when we picked up those two, I guess they were prostitutes, but I don't remember.
You don't remember paying.
I'm a person too, Pop, goddammit. I'm a person too. You're a moron. Best man, the better man.
I'm mad at the best man for wearing that shirt.
That shirt, yeah, the shirt is horrible.
Oh my goodness.
This is 1985, though.
I've done some crazy things in my life, too. And I met a very special girl, a girl who I'm actually marrying next week.
Okay.
And the way I've seen you two looking into each other's eyes all day long, I can tell that you're going to live for each other for the rest of your lives. So cheers.
No, let's go back to the party you picking up two people while y'all was in. Cause what?
Oh, this is definitely the This is definitely the mid 80s.
It said 85, dummy. Do you not read the screen? God, I hate when people do that.
What's an Adam
Damn
Sandler movie
attention, and
without
then they
him
start
in it?
asking questions.
I know. Did he say he
It was
liked
right
her?
there if you paid attention.
Sullivan's cousin. She's half as easy as Holly. I'll close this deal by the end of a week.
Whoa.
Always takes them at least 3 weeks to realize they shouldn't date anyone at work. For some reason, you like being the guy that helps them realize that. Want to be like Fonzie, don't you? Yes, I do.
Fonzie?
Is that a mullet cut?
I think so.
Oh.
I like old coat better.
Gosh.
Sir, you do not get the benefit because you're elderly.
Right?
Always the private. Let them eat the fish.
I have 3 private.
This is Michael.
How come he's so nice to you? I let him look at my boobs at the Christmas party last year. Not my finest half hour, but it's been a pleasant working environment ever since. No.
She said, hell no.
Look, you forget it.
Hey, you know what you must do.
Relax.
You gonna throw up?
Yeah. Tell me, man.
Well, at least he knows it.
So he about to puke.
Did he just?
I think they just started the song over. I really don't know.
Oh, look, I'm bottomless. Just like bottomless apps for $9.99 at Buffalo Wild Wings. That's right, you can get bottomless mop sticks, fried pickles, and so much more for you and all your bottomless friends. Bottomless apps for $9.99 only at B-Dubs.
You see that brand new Hyundai Tucson out there? That's how I paid for it.
Do you know what you want?
Yeah, I think I do. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event.
Get 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days on select Hyundai vehicles. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
I really don't know. Underage drinking. Feel a little lightweight.
Y'all through? Yeah. Wait a few years before you drink again?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, because he is definitely underage. Definitely underage.
You know, Wayne Singer.
Oh!
Yeah, there. You get married soon?
Actually, I don't know how serious the guy is who gave this to me. Right now, I feel like I'm doomed to wander the planet alone forever. If only I'm not helping people.
Oh, that's not true because I saw you inside. You were helping people. You were giving them fish and coffee and forks.
And they can't drink without a fish.
So,
You suck!
he's still singing the same song.
Okay, Lord.
Yeah, baby, I only know the one song.
Oh, 50 years from now, Linda and I are as happy as you two guys.
Are you nervous?
I'm actually not that nervous. You know, I'm around weddings all the time.
Not about the wedding night. Will this be your first time with intercourse? When I got married, I wasn't a virgin. I already had intercourse with 8 men.
Look at his face.
That would be like 200 today.
200?
So if somebody says they had intercourse with 8 people, that means 200.
Hold out your hands.
You want, okay. Oh.
That's a meatball.
Think of what so I can watch you enjoy. That's my favorite part.
I'll go with the right one.
Okay.
That's a good meatball. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave it. I'll see you at the wedding, alright?
Oh, man.
The way she just squeezed it into his
I
hand.
know. 2 meatballs in hand.
Look at the picture of that girl. See that? You're a lot prettier than that girl, and she's getting married. Better get married before your hips start spreading and you get facial hair, which, by the way, comes from your father's mother. Gonna hate this idea, but I think you should consider a fake pregnancy. An
Okay. Cause what?
She's trying to get her married, impregnated all at the same time.
Wow.
In the same day.
Not a suggestion, but I would never suggest.
It was just a suggestion. This is my song right here. You gotta sing this at a wedding.
I just got off the phone with Linda's mom. Linda's not there, but there was a note.
What?
Basically indicated that Linda was not coming today.
Oh.
Did her feet get cold?
Did she say why?
I'm so sorry, honey.
Oh, that's jacked up. Wow.
Just give me a second. I'll be right back.
All of a sudden, he's starting to look like Lil Nicky.
With the dark hair. Oh,
man. He about to get stood up at the altar.
Don't worry, man. Everything's gonna be alright.
Man, we hope so. I'd be pissed off.
I would be too.
This came out of nowhere. Okay, who is that on TV?
Let me turn this crap off, please.
Who is it on TV?
David Bowie.
Oh, I'm always ready.
Billy Idol, dummy.
Oh, thanks, Brady. That's not nice. Go back to the boiler room.
We go back to the boiler room. Why did she stand him up though?
I don't know, but there.
That's the question.
Right in front of everybody?
That's sad. A horrible reminder.
Welcome to Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered. For those of you who missed it, I do have a little Texas podcast we call Come and Take It that is powered by Texas Scorecard that I have on my YouTube channel. Make sure you are subscribed to Sarah Gonzalez Unfiltered YouTube channel. You can also find my Texas Scorecard content. And so the show that I did earlier today, we dropped that at 12 p.m. Central Time today, was of course about the Texas House. The saga of the Texas Democrats who, you know, claim that they're like, hey, come and take it, and then they're running away, which is really kind of contrary to the term come and take it. They're not coming and staying and daring us, they're just fleeing like little cockroaches. And so we've got this fight set up here in the state of Texas, and the fight, remember, is over a redistricting plan. So there is a map of the state of Texas that Republicans would like to redistrict. Now, because this is the state of Texas, this would benefit Republicans because the constituency is overwhelmingly Republican. And Democrats don't like that. Democrats would rather whine and bitch and moan about it and do what Democrats typically do, which is not play by the rules and instead try to look for loopholes. And so what they did was they left the state. And they left the state and they fled to places like Illinois and talked to Governor J.B. Pritzker, sorry, I get that wrong sorry, my bad, I get that wrong every time. They talked to, they're over in New York talking to Governor Kathy Hochul. They are talking to Gavin Newsom, and you've got all of these governors from these different states who are like, you know what? If Texas Republicans don't come to the table, we also might redistrict our states. Now, first of all, that's hilarious coming from a place like Illinois, because you guys are like the gerrymandering haven of the world. But okay, go do as you will do. That's your state. You guys, that's your prerogative. If you have legislators who will vote for something like that, then I guess you do you guys, and we're gonna do us. And so we're watching all of this play out. And after I taped my episode on this, you also had Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who entered the ring. He now has announced today that he will seek judicial orders declaring that runaway Democrats who abandon their legislative duties will vacate their office, or at least will make it official that they have actually vacated their office, and they now have until Friday to return to Texas. And I wanted to bring on my friend, my own Texas House Representative, Representative Mitch Little, to just kind of give us the scene of what the hell is happening on the House floor, and if we anticipate, like, are Democrats actually going to be rounded up, for lack of a better term, and brought back to the Texas House? What are you hearing over there at the Texas House, Representative Little?
Well, they told us to come and take it, and we've decided to come and take it. You probably aware of this. We've already sent out civil arrest warrants to recover the Democrats. We're in process. Ken Paxton's obviously in process of filing petitions to remove them from office because they totally abdicated their responsibility to Texas and have essentially vacated the seat. So we've got a lot of tools at our disposal, and we've begun to use them. The thing that is really bothering me today, you may or may not have seen on the House floor, is the bribery issue. The fact that out-of-state Soros and Beto O'Rourke money is coming in to fund their quorum break and enable them to essentially vacate their or reject their duties to the state of Texas. If this happened on any other bill where you had some type of outside influence come in and inject millions of dollars to encourage legislators to walk a vote, there would be a grand jury convened immediately. This is bribery, plain and simple. It is public corruption. It needs to be addressed. The reason we're having another quorum break after the one we had 4 years ago is we didn't teach them the lesson the first time.
Yes.
We've got an opportunity to do that over again, and I think we're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of have to, right, Mitch? Like, you absolutely have to when you're looking at a Greg Abbott or a Dustin Burrows, which I'm going to speak. This is not representative of Mitch Little's opinion. This is totally Sarah Gonzalez's opinion, which is people are right to have their reservations about Greg Abbott or Dustin Burrows' actual true conservative nature, and this would prove a lot to those who might be on the fence, to those who might say, you know what, I don't think that you're as conservative as you should be, and I don't think you're representative of a Republican constituency. This is their defining moment that they can actually prove to the people of Texas, yes, we are going to put our money where our mouths are. Yes, we are going to actually follow through with the threats, because in my opinion, you can't issue a threat like Greg Abbott issued yesterday. You cannot tell them, hey, come back or we're going to vacate your seats. Oh, and by the way, you may be committing felonies, and if we find out that you're committing felonies, we are going to throw the book at you. You can't be a Dustin Burrows and say, hey, I'm signing these civil arrest warrants, which I do want you to explain maybe, like, are there differences to what that is compared to a typical arrest warrant, and if so, what they are? But, like, you can't have that type of swagger in all of your press and then not follow through with it. I mean, that makes you look so weak. The Democrats will then learn we can do whatever the hell we want, because they're never going to hold us accountable if we don't follow through on it now.
Terry, you're absolutely right. The selection of a Speaker of the House and a governor is a never-ending process. It's what have you done for me lately? And I think not only the Speaker, but the governor, the Attorney General, working in concert with one another, have an opportunity to show what real Republican governance looks like. At times, Texans have had the benefit of a really aggressive Attorney General in Ken Paxton, but not a governor who's acting in concert with him, and certainly not a Speaker of the House who's doing his job. Now, I've never seen this degree of alignment, Sarah, between the governor, the legislature, the attorney.
That's sad. A horrible reminder.
I know it's not
That better not be her.
You need some more time. I guess I can wait.
Wow.
Robbie, 6 years ago. Robbie, the lead singer of Fine and Warning. I woke up this morning and I realized I'm about to marry a wedding singer. I am never gonna leave Richfield.
Richfield?
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
You just wanted to get married so badly you didn't care to who.
That's not true.
I think she mad. She want to get married to David Lee Roth. and she look like Peggy Bundy's sister.
That with the smile on his face.
What a letdown. Her mama is definitely Peggy Bundy.
Dang, and then just to say, Chris, he's a wedding singer. That's checked up.
Man, you wouldn't get married to me if I was doing wedding songs for $60 a pop.
I mean, but you would know that way before the wedding day.
Well, you wanted to set a date, so I went to a travel agent and I said,
For when?
At Las Vegas? I thought
Jules is the romance capital of the world.
Wow.
No! God, please, no! No!
Wow.
Las Vegas it is, and it'll be great.
Jules, let's get married here. I know that's what you want.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
It's more important to you anyway.
Thank you. I promise I'll give you the most beautiful wedding, and even you'll have a good time.
But she got that dreamy looking eyes.
Okay, I don't know.
You think it's too good to be true?
I mean, he offered to go to Vegas. I mean, nothing's wrong with Vegas, but I mean, like, what? And then he said, I know that's what you wanted.
Right.
Anyway.
That's what she wants. But I don't think he really want to get married.
I think he's having some kind of a mental situation.
He looked like he tried out for The Sopranos, but he didn't.
I promise
He
you.
just looked like he didn't get a role in the TV series.
Alright?
Oh, Robbie's going through it. He is not okay.
Look at his face.
You have to go back to work. You know there's going to be over 100 drunk girls at this wedding.
Got nothing to offer anybody. I haven't done jack shit since high school.
I'm just trying to get someone to play with your ding dong.
He said, we're not even trying to go that far. Oh.
He's heartbroken. Why would he even think about coming back to work?
His sister basement.
Look at him. Now he's sitting on the floor. Oh, babe.
Oh, he losing his mind. He's losing it.
I like it. Nobody.
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life. I'm paying you to sing. I have the microphone.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Oh, yeah, he's going through it.
I know that's right. If I got the microphone, you better listen up.
Some of us will never ever find true love. Take, for instance, me. And I'm pretty sure I like that right there. And that lady with the sideburns. And me, Fatty, sideburns lady, and Yuki's over on table 9.
Sideburns lady.
You are the worst wedding singer in the world, buddy.
Sir, one more outburst, I will strangle you with my microphone wire. You understand me?
I heard that.
While we do that, here's a little mood music.
No.
He loves her, she loves this guy right here. And he loves somebody else. You just can't win. So it goes until the day you die.
Die.
It's gonna make you cry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. I ain't see that coming.
Oh, why, is that a real song?
Hell no.
I don't think that's a real song. Was somebody biting?
Hey,
Everybody leave.
pretty much, except for a few cops that are still interviewing some witnesses.
I hate weddings. I hate the bride. I want them to be miserable because that's what I am. People eat prime rib and I sing.
Damn.
It's a joke. Can't do this anymore.
I'm having an engagement party in 2 weeks, and I really want you and Sammy to come.
This is what you call suffering from a broken heart. What a brother got to do to get married.
Are you going to the engagement party tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Come on, Andy, move your ass! Hang on, huh? I think your arm might be dead or something.
Yeah, truly, you're gonna end up in a mental
Oh my god.
No. Yes. Now remember what we talked about?
See,
And they repeating everything.
that's how kids do.
She gave your sister. Used to be wild. And she was very adventurous. No, that's really son. I mean, if it's a special occasion, she might do this exotic dance for her. And sometimes she might, work with my nipples in.
Okay.
I don't want to hear anything like that about my sister. Please spare me the details. I don't even want to visualize that, man.
Glenn, you're gonna have your bachelor party Friday night before the wedding. You'll be all right with that? I mean, it's Miami Vice.
Nope. He do look like he could be on Miami Vice though. Got the white suit on with the pink shirt.
Look at the traffic. Oh man, I would lose that glove. You look nuts.
And look at the jacket.
Can we help you?
Oh, hi, I'm Amy. I live next door.
Okay, why are you here?
I just came by to tell you about a new puzzle game, Royal Kingdom. It's so great. I've been playing it on my phone, and it's an awesome way to relax. And so I'm just going door to door, spreading the word.
Okay, well, we just got an alert that there was someone by our front door. We're at work.
Yeah, work is so important. You know what else is important? This game. No ads, free to download.
Okay, so are you gonna be moving on?
Well, could I stay here for a little while? You have better Wi-Fi than we do.
Okay.
Kidding. I'm just kidding. You don't even need Wi-Fi to play Royal Kingdom. Isn't that amazing? People should really know about
Okay,
this.
great. We'll check it out, but can you please get off our property?
1 second. You have some packages here. Do you want me to open them?
No, not at all. In fact, we've called the police.
Oh, that's a good idea. They should know about this too. I'll wait here for them. Oh, hey, Jody. Can I talk to you about a really fun game? Jody?
Hello, my name is Valentina V, and welcome to the Adobe Premiere Pro workshop. For the next 3 or so hours, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about Premiere Pro from the very beginning. This is also going to be useful for those of you coming from a different editing software wanting to learn more about Premiere Pro. If you're someone who has watched one of my previous workshops and you want to know what's new in the software, I'm very excited to share that this is the most updated version. You can jump directly to those sections because I've outlined them via timestamps here. I've done a couple home improvement projects in my home and I've taken footage of it so that we could create 2 videos. The first being more of a vlog style video with a bunch of clips just put together to music, and the second one is a little bit more complicated. We have an interview style video with 2 different angles, B-roll on top of everything, slow motion, color correction, graphics, and sound effects. I'm providing all of the assets for this project so you can follow along with me using the exact clips that I am using. I've also made a PDF with all the information you need. It's written in plain language, it's written by me, and you can always refer back to it if you need a little bit of help or to remember a certain shortcut or phrase. I know that learning a new software can be scary sometimes, but I hope that my
Look like he about to grab his crotch any moment and say, hee hee.
Man, I heard what happened to you at your wedding. You must have felt like shit. No, felt really good. Thanks for bringing it up, man. You know, my parents died when I was 10. Would you like to talk about that? Why would we want to talk about that? I don't know.
Wow.
Have a few drinks and, drive home.
Ooh.
First time this guy saw you, he told me he was gonna hit on you. That's not true. You said you were gonna give it to her.
Give me what exactly?
Yeah. You're a jerk. What are you?
So now you're not going to give it to me?
Very. Say hi to your brother Tito.
But I went to Marshall's for the floral centerpieces.
Marshalls? Man, you should go to Tony's. They're cheaper, and you got a great selection.
I hope she don't mean Marshall's like Ross Marshalls.
That's the only one I can think of. That's the only Marshalls I know of. So he doing bar mitzvahs? So, Mazel tov.
Take it away, George.
Uh-oh, not the song.
Not him again.
With the one song. It's the same song.
Say hi to Julia, everybody.
Hello.
Who of you out there would like
like to dance with this fine-looking woman.
I'd like to do more than dance with her.
Fine amongst all these young studs here tonight. The coolest, most unlosery guy in the bunch.
Look how they are.
May I have this dance?
Oh, look.
Okay, pal, have fun.
Look, this may, up until now, this made his entire life.
Yeah.
Love and a promise to be new for you and you alone.
Look at the boy next in the back, standing next to the girl.
You just call it.
Look, babe.
The clarinet.
Yes.
There you go.
If you're wondering what I'm asking in return, yeah.
Look at everybody on the floor now. That cannot be him singing.
I don't know. I think it sounds like Adam.
I don't know what it sounds
But I
like.
don't know. I don't
That's
know.
too good.
That was a little Frank Sinatra-ish.
He did have very strong hands for a 13-year-old.
I could see that.
My mother lives 50 miles away, and Holly's not into that kind of thing, so really only leaves one person.
George?
I'm afraid I'm gonna pay $500 for a half-eaten wedding cake.
Oh, right.
You need to go back to wedding singing.
Living with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis often means spending hours at an infusion center. Envision being able to self-inject your treatment at home. With Zinfentra, your infliximab maintenance treatment can be managed in the comfort of your own home. This is a shift that can make a difference.
Zinfentra is the only self-injectable infliximab maintenance treatment for adults with moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Zinfentra can lower your ability to fight infections, serious infections, cancers, blood, liver, and nervous system issues, severe allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure have occurred. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Ask your doctor if Zinfentra is right for you.
Certainty starts here with the original equipment parts from GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco that continuously evolve to meet the needs of today's advanced vehicles.
I didn't sing it.
That's what I look like.
No, you're much better than him. He's ridiculous.
Jimmy Moore.
You've just inspired me to hire a DJ, so thank you.
Good luck finding a DJ who can move and shake like this.
Not like this.
Like that.
Definitely not like that.
How did you become a wedding singer?
I think I got into it to make some money until my music career took off.
And you want to be a rock star. Have you written anything lately?
Yeah, I guess.
Will you play it for me?
You don't want to hear it, it's not good.
I'd like to hear it.
I want to hear the song.
You're done with what you've done to me. All day long, feeling melancholy. Tears running constantly.
Oh.
Somebody kill me, please.
stomach.
What kind of daggone song was that? Kill me now.
That was a good ass song though. That was good. Yeah. That's a no 100 times over.
That was kind of. Yeah.
Not only is he your best friend, he's the only limo driver in town.
Look like he was a stunt driver.
You hit 2 cones. Those could have been people. Those could have been guests at her wedding. They were cones.
Not they were cones.
The wedding driver tutorials.
Why would a limo driver be driving like that at the wedding?
Okay, cause he driving like he should be in like a Lethal Weapon movie or Die Hard or something.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
You like her. No, I don't. Anyway, she told me she likes you. Really? She said that? No.
Look at him smoking in the limo too.
Forgot your jacket in the limo.
Thank you for bringing it back. That's so nice of you.
Oh.
We were just having a debate about weddings. I say that it's okay for it to be an open milk.
And I say that it's the type of vacation where people dress up, so it's not appropriate.
Sensual.
Well, maybe a little tongue. Not porno tongue. Church tongue.
Sensual and respectful.
I don't know how to describe it.
Church tongue?
Show me.
Church tongue?
Where's church tongue?
You want me to show you?
You don't mind, do you?
Uh,
Come on, just hold still. Julia, go ahead. I'm gonna have to see it if I'm gonna make an educated decision.
Let me show you the church tongue.
Babe.
What?
That is not.
The church.
That is porno tongue.
What? Ooh. That looked like the perfect wedding kiss.
Sorry, folks. Looks like the Wi-Fi is down.
Oh, great. What am I going to do for the next 5 hours? Play the new puzzle game, Royal Kingdom. It's the perfect way to pass time on long flights. There's no Wi-Fi. The game's not going to work. Relax. Royal Kingdom doesn't need Wi-Fi. Does it? No. Should be cool. Yeah, it's a cool game. Well, I'm sure it is, but I will pass on all those annoying ads. Thank you. Oh, you think it has ads? You're hilarious. Wait, it doesn't have ads? No, but I can't download it because there's no Wi-Fi. You know what? Until then, I'm going to let you watch me play. Oh, thank you. I'd rather read the emergency instructions. All right. Give me that. That's really rude. I know. Oh, wow. Can I have my phone back? I just got you to a new level.
Great news, folks. The Wi-Fi is back online.
See? Look at that. You can download it onto your phone now. I'm killing it. Well, kill it on your own phone. No. Download it. I'm in the middle of something. All right. You want me to put it on your phone? Give me your phone. Do what you gotta do. I don't want to get aggressive with you. Download Royal Kingdom. And join us today.
More rewards, more savings, more special offers. That's what new Fuel Rewards members get at Shell. Join to save 10 cents per gallon on your first fill, 20 cents per gallon on the second, and 30 cents per gallon on the third. Join today.